All right, here we go. I will never forgive you podcast. This is episode 9. Tell the truth. How many of you didn't think we would get to 9 episodes of the podcast? Most podcasts fail within the first 10 episodes, I think. So we're not out of the woods yet. But I'm committed to doing it, and we'll find a way. In fact, I'm recording an extra episode this week, which if you sign up for Tier 3, which is my podcast tier over on Patreon, you will be able to get access to it. It's going to be about Attack on Titan. But it's going to be a special unnumbered podcast that will drop in if I ever get to the point where I'm just like super busy or I'm sick or I don't have the internet. I can use my Wi-Fi on my phone. I have a YouTube studio on my phone that I can like unprivate videos and stuff if I absolutely have to. I don't like doing it that way because it's hit or miss. But I can. If I completely lose the internet, completely lose the computer, whatever, there's still some things I can do, right? So I will. That will be the purpose of this particular extra podcast. It'll be a podcast at a time, and it'll be the same format as this, which is, start off with promotion, read comments, main topic, episode, all that. The entire format of the show would just be devoted to Attack on Titan. When I finish One Piece, which is One Piece ever really finished until the story is finished? I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'll probably do this for One Piece, even though I did a podcast about One Piece. But I did it. It was like the episode 1100 special or something. Yeah. But probably this is the thing that's better for podcast for anime that's finished. So maybe Fullmetal. Talk in the comments what you think the next episode should be. The specific anime specific episode that I can use as a backup plan. It'll be a temporary Patreon extra. And at some point between now and the heat death of the universe, when I just don't have time to do my regular podcast, I'll slide that in there and that'll give me time off. So that's the purpose of it. But not just that will be up there. Right now, I've already put up reactions to, my main topic today, which I've already recorded the main topic. I wanted to do that first. It's weird. Usually I do things in chronological order. But I wanted to do the main topic because I had some shit I had to say. I had like a mental monologue about a specific character I wanted to do. I kind of had it shaped out in my head. I don't like to read stuff. I think you can tell. You can see the eyes and just the delivery is off. And I'm not a good actor. If I was a good actor, I could read teleprompters and do shit. I'm better off the cuff. But so I had like a mental monologue about this son of a bitch. And I wanted to get that. I knew if I did an hour of Q&A and all this other shit that happens before we get to the main topic, I would have forgotten it. So I've already recorded the main topic. It was long. You'll see here, if you look at your the thing on YouTube, you'll see how much we have left. Holy crap. So, I don't know. But we got a lot to come. But I've already done the main topic. But, speaking of the main topic, I watched there was a comic book resources article that was talking about the 10 worst anime ever. So I took number 1 and number 10 and I reacted to an episode of each one of them. And you'll probably already be hip to this if you've been like my community tab. I did a poster about it. I've also done a short on it. Both of them, actually. So you've seen a little bit of what I've had to say. And if you wanted to check out more, go over to Tier 3 and, they're available there. I did near full reactions to both episodes. I edited out a little bit here and there. So it was Attack on Titan Junior High, which was number 10. And which is number 1, considered the worst anime ever, worst comedy anime ever. There are worse anime, but this is considered the worst comedy anime ever. So, having said all that, I guess that's my promotion out of the way. What is next on my list? Feedback, as usual. One of these days I'm gonna have this memorized. So for feedback, let's go to the podcast. Last podcast, which was episode 8, now we're up to episode 9. This first comment is from Joe Loco B4W? Joe Loco B4, probably. It's probably just Joe Loco B4. Every now and then on YouTube you add in extra letters and shit. Make it really confusing. Quality is better than quantity. Yeah, that is always true. Add timestamps. So, you want me to put more work into this so you can watch less of my shit. I'll think about it. More discussion, maybe, about the episode. What episode? I'm unclear what you mean, the episode. What was the topic for the last podcast? Worst anime parents of all time. There's no episode with worst anime parents of all time. I did talk about a couple episodes. I talked about Gintama episode 11. I don't know what else I would have had to say about it. I don't know. Let me know what you mean. More discussion about the episode. Not sure, but hopefully your channel explodes. Big fan of your insight. It's very different from other creators. Different thumbnails? I like this comment. I like it. You know, I always like constructive feedback. Like, there's some things that are just not going to happen. But, like, here, the thing about feedback, though, is the way it's supposed to be. And I had this argument with one of my patrons years ago. He's no longer a patron. But he wanted to read one of my scripts, so I sent him a script. And he didn't understand the way feedback works. The way feedback works is you read a script and then you provide feedback in email so that, you know, people can collect all these emails. They can refer to them when they're going to write the next draft, right? So that's the way it works. That's the industry standard. You don't get feedback in person. You don't get feedback over the phone. You don't get feedback in chat. And you don't defend yourself to the feedback. Like, for instance, say the feedback is there's too many fat jokes in the script. You don't then reply to that by saying, okay, here's why this fat joke is justified, and here's why that fat joke is justified, and here's why that fat. You don't do that. You don't defend yourself against feedback. The purpose of feedback is they're trying to help you make the script better. It's not for you to stroke your ego by defending yourself, right? So what you do is you take the feedback and you say, thank you for your feedback, and that's it. You don't say anything else. There's nothing else you say about it. And this person wanted my feedback on their feedback. And they also insist on not doing an email. They insist on doing it in chat because they wanted my feedback on their feedback. And I wasn't giving it, and they got mad that I wasn't giving them feedback on their feedback. Like, that's not what this is. Like, you know, the purpose of feedback is you're sending this to, because it's not about just one piece of feedback. It's about these 10 people don't know each other. And they all read your shit, and they all give you feedback on your shit. These 10 people that don't know each other, and they don't know that the others are reading it. And so these 10 people give you feedback. If you hear the same thing from 6 or more people, you need to change that, whatever it is. So you don't need to be defending yourself against all 10 people. What you need to do is, like, you absorb the feedback. You look at it, and it's like, wait, these 7, 8 people all said the same thing, essentially the same thing, phrased differently, put different ways. But they all said the same thing. You need to get rid of these fat jokes. Okay, well, I guess I better get rid of the fat jokes. These people don't know each other. And by don't know each other, I mean they're not influencing each other's opinions. It's not like they saw a blog that said, oh, too many fat jokes. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Let me tell him the same thing. No, they don't. There's no influence here. It's all coming originally from their head. That's the perfect feedback. That's the purpose of it. And you may not revise your script for 6 months. You may get the feedback in January and start working on the next draft of the script in July. When that happens, you pull out these emails, you look at them, read what they say, either apply what they say or ignore what they say. Because maybe they're not understanding something, or they're the only person that said that thing, or you just fundamentally disagree with what they're saying, and so you keep it. So people want to try to make feedback like adversarial, and it's not. It's a technical exercise. It's gathering information. It's the same thing as a screen test. Feedback on a script happens before the script is produced. The screen test happens after the script is produced, but the result is the same. You're looking for the same shit. You're looking for external opinions that are not swayed by each other on what the product is. What are the issues here? What are the things you had problems with, right? Same kind of shit. I'll give feedback on shit I'm watching all the time, right? If I was talking to the people who made it, I would present it maybe in a little bit more coherent form and email it to them, and then that's it. The transaction is over at that point. Once you send in the feedback, the transaction is over. There's no further action necessary. Like I said, they may not get to it for 6 months. And they sure as hell, there doesn't need to be a conversation about it. So that's where I think a lot of amateur screenwriters and amateur in a lot of different fields that require feedback, That's where they stumble. Is they don't understand the transactional nature. They don't understand what it's supposed to be and what it's not supposed to be. So, when I get feedback and comments, I'm going to take that feedback to heart, which means think about it and think about whether or not I want to make any changes or not. So, that being said, I will say one thing. The different thumbnails thing is never going to happen. And long-time viewers will know that. I understand that it helps the videos. What I don't understand is why does it help the videos? Why does being good at Photoshop matter for YouTube videos? What does being good at Photoshop have to do with me watching shit and reacting to it or having opinions on anime? That's like saying a doctor can't operate on your brain unless he's a good singer. What the hell does singing have to do with being a brain surgeon? And I would say the same. What in the actual hell does being good at Photoshop have to do with whether or not you're an entertaining, good YouTube channel or not? I will never understand it, and since I don't understand it, I will never play that game. I ain't doing it. I'll die in a gutter before I do it. I refuse. Because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Who gives a shit? You either watch it or you don't. You watch one of these videos. If you like them, you keep watching them. What the hell does the thumbnail have to do with any of that, man? I ain't never watched a video because of a thumbnail in my life. I've never not watched a video because of a thumbnail in my life. Unless they do that stupid-ass red arrow, which we know they're catering to the algorithm, right? Ooh, more people watch when you got a red arrow. I have skipped a couple videos because of that. Because I know what they're doing. Preston Jacobs' minion is always bragging about how he does that just because he knows it gets views. Anyway, so all that. Also, on top of all that, Andy replied to this comment because a lot of times he will come in and put the timestamps. So I always appreciate him doing that. He doesn't have to. Like, it's unpaid labor, and it's not something I could ever compensate him for. But, labor of love, he does it. I always appreciate it. When I remember to do it, I'll pin the comments. So, hey, maybe that part worked out. But don't nobody be making me thumbnails, because I ain't going to use them. Because that's too much unpaid labor, man. I'd be putting out thousands of videos. I am not putting that on somebody. All right, let's get to the next comment, which is Plastistricus, I think. Would reacting to theory videos about One Piece be a good way to keep One Piece on your channel once you become weekly? Or maybe even read the manga. There's a huge community for One Piece, and I'm sure it's only going to grow until the eventual end of the series. Well, here's the thing. We've got movies, and I've already talked to Hunter Stone, frequent contributor to the comments, and he knows a lot about One Piece. He's given me a list of the good movies. So we'll do the good movies first. So we got that going on. Then maybe we'll do the bad movies. And what I've been thinking about doing is maybe revisiting an arc. I don't know if anybody gives a shit about a rewatch. We've talked about this before. Does anybody care about rewatches of One Piece? But I think it would have to be like a full arc. Skipping any filler, that would somehow be inserted into the middle of the arc. I don't know. I'm probably going to do at least one and see how it does. One arc rewatch. The question is, which arc would I do? I would want it to be relevant to current affairs. But if it is relevant to current affairs, it's probably going to be post-time skip, which I kind of still remember all that shit. But would there be a point of doing anything that's pre-time skip? So, that's kind of what's holding me back here, is what the whole arc would I do? I'd love to do Water 7, but it's pretty far back. I don't know if anything happened to Water 7. I know CP9's back, but, I don't know that, revisiting that would, necessarily inform anything that's going to happen in the future. We just did the Wano arc, which is going to be very influential for what's going to happen in the future, and it has stuff about Shanks and Gold Roger and stuff like that. But, so I don't know. I mean, I want to do something that is thematically relevant to current events in the series, but I don't know what that would be. So if you have thoughts, let me know. As far as theory videos, there's a couple I want to do. I keep meaning to do it. really behind it. You see, I've been doing Bleach and JoJo and all that stuff lately. Even late on Yu this week. So it's hard to even do the stuff I want to do that I've kind of already started doing. Once One Piece is over, though, like, once we're down to one episode a week, I'm going to have more time, which is what you're talking about here anyway. So I guess what I'm saying is I'll probably do a couple theory videos and see how it goes. But I don't believe in reacting to other YouTubers. I just fundamentally disagree with that. I'm going to break that with the normies that put out an audio play. So I'm going to react to that. But even that, I think what I might do is just listen, pause, talk, listen, pause, talk. Especially because it's an audio play, there's no visuals, right? That'd be a bigger problem. And I've done that with One Piece essays before when I started the series. I was a guy on Patreon, Klaus, had me do those first before I got into the series. And so my method there was to listen, sum up what he said, and respond to it. Listen, sum up what he said, and respond to it. That kind of thing. Because I wouldn't want somebody reacting to my content without my permission. I guess you could react to this. I don't know what the hell you'd react to, but if you did, I would like them to ask me, I'd probably say okay. But I'd like them to ask me, so I wouldn't want to do that to anybody else. We talk about, I've already talked about the comedy stuff. So, in that, I mentioned how, and it's funny that this came back up. I mentioned how if I don't want people to do something to me, then I won't do it to them, right? That's just how I am. The same thing here. I don't want people to just come in and use there's some of these channels that do reaction compilations, and so they did that for The Boys. They pulled some of my stuff I said in The Boys and just shoved it into the video and monetized and all this stuff. I didn't do anything. I didn't report them or anything. I'm not going to report people, but I didn't like it, I'd rather you ask me. You can just ask me, just leave a comment and ask me. I'd probably say yes. And so I don't want to go around asking other people. There's no great way, there's no direct messaging system or anything on YouTube. So there's no way to really ask people. And most of these people, my thing is, if they're a corporation, because it might sound like I'm talking on both sides of my neck. I'm a reaction channel. So I react to corporate videos all the time. They're a corporation. It's not one creator working in his basement. If it's one creator working in his basement, I'm not going to use their content without their permission. I'm just not. That's just not something I'm going to do. If they're a corporation, if there's a Fox puts out an essay on the Fox YouTube channel about One Piece, I'll react to that shit all day long. But we're talking about people like me. They just have more subscribers, and even if they have 1 million, 2 million subscribers, they're still like me. They just have 2 million subscribers. They're not a corporation, right? Unless they're making even if they're making 10 million a year, then Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning are a corporation, right? Okay, once you reach that level, Hot Ones is a corporation. Once you reach that level, okay, now we can do it. You see what I'm saying? If you're in the daily grind, whatever your subscriber count is, if you're in the daily grind, you're working this, and you're pretty much doing you may have editors, but you're pretty much doing this by yourself. I'm not using your shit without your permission. That's just how I feel. So that kind of is a stumbling block for reacting to essays. But I did it before, and the way I did it was I listened, summarized what they were saying, and responded to it. And then also, of course, link to the videos where you can go see the video yourself. I can do that again. I can see that happening. This is Alice. The live-action Netflix version of Avatar: The Last Airbender didn't bomb. It's been renewed for a second and third season. It's interesting, and Alice speculates I'm confusing it with the movie. I wasn't confusing it with the movie. I know the movie bombed. Obviously, right? I just thought the TV series bombed. And I haven't paid attention to it. I haven't looked at it all. I haven't, saw any essays about it. I haven't watched it. All I did was I saw a couple articles, people bashing it, talking about they changed the characters, now it sucked. And then I have not heard anything else about it. So here was my information. Articles say they changed it, they completely butchered the characters and completely changed the characters, now it sucks. Complete absence. I haven't seen a trailer. I haven't seen a poster. I haven't seen news that they got renewed for 2 or 3 seasons. I haven't seen trailers for season 2 and season 3. I ain't heard jack shit. Now I guess I'm just not in the same circles. I be getting like I got notified that Old Guard 2 was coming out the movie. That's why I downloaded it. I'm gonna react to it at some point. I ain't heard shit about this. Nothing. Not a damn thing. So I assumed it bombed. I shouldn't assume. I understand that, but that's why you guys are here to put me back in my place. So okay, it didn't bomb, I guess, but that was where I was coming from. It was the fact that I had heard that it sucked, and then I ain't heard jack shit since then. And it's been years, man. Probably 2, 3 years. I mean, it's been a while since I saw those articles talking about, oh man, they butchered the character. And I couldn't remember exactly what the complaint was. I think you talked about it here. Let me see. Soko Katar's older brother was a sexist character that gradually grew out of it as the series progressed. In a live-action show, that aspect of the character was omitted. Yeah, that was what I heard complaints about. I couldn't remember specifically. But yeah, no, I wasn't conflating anything. It was just like, I ain't heard jack shit about it. So it's wild to me that there are 3 seasons and it didn't bomb. It's actually doing really well. Just, it's weird how bubbles work, right? Like, we be in these bubbles and we just don't hear shit, so we just assume it don't exist. It's like, here's what's so interesting about today versus the 70s and 80s. In the 70s and 80s, if you had a TV show, everybody knew who the hell you were. Night shows, like Three's Company, for instance, was, there was 3 networks. Three's Company is on one of the 3 networks. People watch shit on the other 2 networks. So not everybody was watching Three's Company, but everybody knew about Three's Company. Everybody knew the actors in Three's Company, and everybody knew the behind-the-scenes messiness of Three's Company. So, like, people weren't getting paid the same, people leaving the show or whatever, getting fired, whatever was going on. Everybody knew all that shit. The talk shows could talk about how somebody's leaving Three's Company, and everybody's got the context. You don't have to provide any other context. That was the way things were back then. That's why you could do impressions back then. You could do impressions as comedy in the 70s, 80s, because everybody knew everything. Everybody knew everybody in pop culture. Like, if you were making a living in entertainment, people knew who the hell you were. Like, once you got on a Tonight Show once, like, that's what's happening. That used to be the career path for comedians. They would work for 10, 15, 20 years in comedy clubs. Finally get invited on the Tonight Show, get on the Tonight Show, kill it, and now people know who they are. And then they get on the Tonight Show, they're invited back to the Tonight Show, they do a second one, they're good again. And by the time they do a third set on the Tonight Show, they're offered a sitcom. That used to be the career path for stand-up comedians. That's the only career path to make it big and everybody knows who you are. You get on the Tonight Show a couple times, everybody knows. Now, man, you can have 7 to 10 seasons as a lead actor on a TV series and nobody knows who the hell you are. Man, they're In Plain Sight. Have you ever heard of the show In Plain Sight? Ran 6 seasons on USA Network. Have you ever heard of that show? It's about witness protection, right? And she went around. It was actually a really good show. But that's ended about 10, 15 years ago. Most people watching this have probably never heard of that show. And there are shows now we've never heard of. Like, and so people be in this niche that they're famous in the niche. And that's it. Don't nobody else know who the hell they are. It keeps cracking me up. There's a particular Ruby Rose song I like. It's called Mirror. And Ruby Rose Turner, I think her name is. There's another Ruby Rose who is the asshole who was on the Batwoman show. Not her. But the Ruby Rose Turner. And I like the song because it's about looking in the mirror and not letting the mirror ruin your life and stuff. And so I have a friend who has like a eating disorder shit and looking in the mirror perception shit, right? So she turned me on to the song and I kind of like it. But the funny thing is, in the song, she's the actress Ruby Rose Turner, who's also a singer, speaks in the first person, and she talks about when you're famous, life is different. And every time I hear that, I'm like, are you though? Are you famous? Like, there are millions of kids who watch. She was on something on the Disney Channel, and then she was in the fourth Descendants movie. I'm not trying to shit on her. Like, she seems great. She's a great singer. I love the song. I'm sure she's a great actress. I'm not shitting on her. I'm just saying she was in the 4th Descendants movie, and she was in one of 50 Disney Channel shows after the heyday. There was a couple. I guess Jesse is one of the famous shows on Disney Channel that, like, when it was in its heyday. What was the one with the kid and they would create a video blog every episode for the kid? Whatever, who cares? Anyway, like, that was the heyday. That shit was like that. We're talking about 2010, 2015, somewhere around there. 2010, 2012 was when the Disney Channel was at its biggest, and her shit was after that. So anyway, there were probably millions of kids currently age 10 to 20 who know who the hell she is. And nobody else in this world knows who the hell she is. So she may have 20 million, which is not the same. I have like 100 people who know who the hell I am. 100, if that, right? She's got 20 million. That's not famous. Famous is you can't walk in a diner in Hollywood without a bunch of people staring at you the entire time you're there. Really famous is paparazzi be all up in your shit, man. That's really famous. But she's talking about it. So for her, she's famous because in her bubble, everybody knows who the hell she is, right? But if she was to step outside her bubble, if she was to go to Nashville, Tennessee, country music and sitcoms and westerns are what everybody watches, right? There ain't a single damn person in that entire city probably knows who she is. I don't know. I mean, there's kids everywhere, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, so the bubble, right? If you step outside your bubble, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Shit, I thought I was famous. I really feel like I'm shitting on her. I'm really not. I promise you I'm not. I don't know this chick. I'm just saying that it every time, like, it's a line in the song, and every time, almost every time that song comes on, because I have a playlist and it just randomly goes through songs, be like, really? Are you really famous? Now I feel like a dick. Anyway, point being, the bubble, right? I'm in a bubble that apparently I don't get shit about Last Airbender live action. Jack shit. So, tell me, since I literally don't know shit about it, should I maybe react to this? You know, I mean, Alice is always with recommendations, has never recommended this, but, like, you know, anybody else listening to this, what do you think? Because I didn't hate the world building, I didn't hate the premise and the concept, I didn't even hate the characters, I just hate the juvenile sense of humor. So, if it's live action, maybe they've kind of aged it up a bit. Maybe I would really enjoy this. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Alright, another one from Alice. Wait. That's another thing YouTube does, man. They be duplicating comments and replies. The hell is this? Why does it do that, man? If it didn't take so long to start up my... wait a minute. Maybe this one is... Oh, no. This is weird. It's formatted a little bit differently. It's like this... It's the same comment, but... I'm gonna screenshot this. I'll show you what I mean. So you don't think I'm crazy, right? Old man rants in the cloud. You see what I mean? What in the hell is that? And it's happening constantly. Like, I'll be like, ooh, here's another comment from Hunter or Ariel or Alice or whatever. No, same goddamn comment. What is that? Like, why does it do that? It's so weird. But anyway, yeah, so not another comment from Alice. This next one's from Ariel. What works for me when I don't see all the comments, the number doesn't match. This is where we had this problem last time. Like, we're having all kinds of... Like, here's the thing. Either we get it twice, or we don't get it at all. Man, they need to fix their damn comment section, man. Something's up. Something's up. Is to change the filter from top comments to lowest or newest first. And they usually pop up. I'm going to do that from now on. By the way, this is really good advice. I just did that in a poster reading, but from which... also only initially showed me 2 comments. It looks like the ones you didn't see were from Power of Death and Speznia. Not sure why it holds comments back. Unless, whatever the reason, they weren't considered top, which is the default filter. I've got it sorted by... Oh, I'd already done it. I'd already switched it to sort by newest. And hopefully now I'll see all my comments from now on. Yeah, that was good advice. Thanks for that, Ariel. Power of Death. Speaking of, why did I not... Some of these I just never gave the heart to, by the way. I like to acknowledge that I've actually seen this shit. Power of Death, continuity error. This was the anime studio's fault rather than Odo's fault. Oh, so we have a continuity error. Oh, shit. I think what it was is I didn't want to read these until I read them, right? So I can get a fresh reaction. So that's why I hadn't given the hearts and whatever. So I've been going this whole 2 weeks thinking there wasn't continuity error. Excellent. Let's find out. Um, but they animated Robin with dark skin and different eye color before Odo realized what Robin really looked like in a color spread in the manga. I guess they do like color spreads or covers or something. The anime studio decided to wait until the time skip to fully correct her look. Finally correct her look. Some fans were disappointed as they prefer the tanned version of Robin. Hadn't really noticed, don't really give a shit. But that is interesting. Is that a continuity error? I think we just automatically know the studio's idiots, right? Like, I don't think anybody's sitting there, ooh, yeah, the writer screwed that up, right? I think we just knew they're morons. We know the studio morons. That's probably so. Like, it's different in a book. Like with George R. R. Martin, I was talking about the eye color changed or the horse gender changed, or she had big tits, she had no tits. You know, that's on the author because the author is describing the shit. Here, when it's not in the manga and then the anime decides to do something and then later it's in the manga that contradicts the anime, like, I guess it is a continuity error, but like I don't think anybody's looking at that like, oh man, the author screwed that shit up. So yeah, but I'm not shitting on this because it says a continuity error. Probably none of us were sitting there thinking it was the author, you know. Speaking of Luffy's parents, do you think we'll ever meet Luffy's mom? Well, considering the fact his dad is out there and he don't give a shit. He don't care one iota about that. I don't think we will. He don't give a shit, man. Like, he don't care. Like, he don't want to talk to his dad. His real dad is Shanks. And so he don't care about who squirted into his mom, right? Like, not to be gross or anything. I'm just saying, he don't care. It's weird, though, that the mom has gotten this treatment because typically it's the mom who sticks around. Because she has to, right? Like, that's just what you do. So where is the mom if she wasn't taking care of him? Is she a pirate in prison? It would make sense given who... I never thought about this. Given who Dragon is, it would not shock me if she was a pirate in prison. Been in prison for 20... Because other than that, either she don't give a shit, she don't know he's alive, or she can't be with him for one reason or another. Those are the only three choices. Those are the only three options. So, or she's dead, I guess. But nobody seems to think she's dead. I don't know. But, I mean, I don't think anything's been said in the story. So, what I want her to have been a pirate that just did something really heinous. Maybe she was part of Gold Roger's crew, because the timing would line up. Who the hell was, Ace's mother? We found that out, right? Like that Garp visited her or some shit. She died or something. I don't remember. Something like that. She wasn't a pirate. But that's what I want her to be a pirate. I want her to be a pirate that's been locked up. She did some heinous shit. She's hardcore. Rough Rider. Not going to be touchy-feely. That would be perfect for this story. Because he ain't trying to get all hugs from his mommy, right? He just ain't about that. He don't give a shit about his parents anyway. The only way he would give a shit about his parent is if his mom was some badass pirate with a $4 billion bounty on her head. You know? I guess she could be so notorious, but we would have heard of her, though. We haven't ever heard any name-checked female pirates other than the ones we've seen on screen. Big Mama's name-checked we've seen on screen. Bonnie. There was a couple other... Remember when I was reading that list? You may not have seen it yet, but it was on one of my reactions to One Piece. I read a list of all the historical famous pirates. It surprised me there were 4 or 5 women on that list. I thought there was only one famous female pirate. There were 4 or 5. They got known. They were notorious. I wouldn't be shocked if his mom has a name similar to one of those others, and she's just been in prison somewhere. It'd be funny. Did we see the face of any female pirate when he was in prison? When he was in the Marine prison? Whatever the hell that was called. They passed a bunch of cells. I think we only saw dudes, right? They passed a bunch of cells. There could be an Easter egg. Maybe it didn't even make the anime. Maybe it's only in the manga. Of some woman laying on a cot in the background as Luffy runs past, probably sleeping or whatever. That could totally be his mom. A pirate in prison. That's my prediction. All right, we'll see. That's only the first line of the comment. Oda made a joke a long time ago saying we met her already, but we didn't know if that was true. See? Was a long time ago after the prison arc? When he was running to the prison? Maybe it was. Maybe I'm on to something. Boy, if I nail one of these predictions, we're going to have a party. There's also this about absurd fan theory that Crocodile is his mom. Before changing his gender to a man by Ivankov. Yeah, Raymond Red's already done that. Unsure if you heard of that before. I personally don't buy it. Yeah, I don't either. That's dumb as hell. You know my prediction. Also, Power of Death. Frankie mentioned that Luffy's dream is impossible unless you become king of the pirates. So we could eliminate a lot of dreams that Luffy could still achieve if he can't become king of the pirates. A friend of mine thought his dream could be that he wanted to have the biggest party in the world. That sounds like Luffy. But I don't think you need to be king of the pirates to throw parties. It's dreams like those that I can probably eliminate. I don't know what Odo is cooking, but I bet it's something so simple it's in plain sight. Well, you know what just occurred to me, which doesn't make sense for King of the Pirates, is what if he wants to get to a vantage point where he can see as much of the world as possible in one just look, like the highest mountain? You can just look around and see the entire world, or maybe go into orbit where you can see the whole world at once or some shit. It's going to be exploration related somehow. Because you can eliminate, like, you can go to every island in the world without being king of the pirates, unless you have to be king of the pirates to get to the island where the One Piece is. So that way you can't go to every island in the world unless you're king of the pirates, because there's that one place you can't go unless you're king of the pirates. Let's just go with that. I think every island in the world, because that would be functionally impossible anyway, because there's so many goddamn islands on this world. So far, we've only encountered, what, a third of the entire world? A little bit here, then we cross the red line, we got this part, and then there's another part that we're in now. It's about a third of the world, I think. And you got the top and bottom shit we ain't done. You know? So, getting to every goddamn island, that'd take a lifetime. That could be his dream. That could be his impossible dream. Hunter Stone, don't worry, I didn't join your Patreon just for One Piece. That's really. He's been checking out the Succession reaction. Now he's on Kaguya. I love his war. That's just. I mean, you can get that free for a week. You know, the anime, not Succession, but the anime stuff you can get free for a week. Check out Kaguya. I love his war. If you're going to check out one reaction series, that's probably my favorite show I've done on Tier 1. I love a lot of the shows I've done on Tier 1. That could be my favorite. It was just so funny. So funny, so different than everything else I've watched. Great teacher wasn't. Onizuka wasn't bad either. It was really good. But they had the rap battle. I mean, it was one of a great series. I guess they're never going to do another season. They've only done the 3 seasons in a movie. It kind of pisses me off. Let me look that up right now. Like, it's been years. They're probably never going to do another season. Just found out my short film, short video is not going to be allowed to have any ads because I said the F-bomb too many times. Yeah, I knew that. I wish you could turn off ads on shorts. They won't let you do that. If that was a regular video, I would just turn off ads because I know what's coming, right? They won't let you do it. So we did it the hard way, I guess. They had to do a 24-hour review on that. A human being watched that. I feel bad for him. Ooh, yes! Gets a new TV special. Returns to the screens with a new TV special. Let me have it. Boy, this took years, man. I thought we were going to get another season. I was hoping. And then at this point, I figured we were never going to get any more of it ever. I was really looking so I could be mad, right? I literally wasn't expecting to find out anything. Alright, well, what the hell is the details here? It's called The Steps to Become an Adult. Whoa, boy, you're in trouble. television special. So we're probably talking about 1 hour, right? Okay, well, that's all we know right now. Hey, man. Good news. Better than nothing, right? Love that show. Anyway, that's not even what this comment was about. I think the issue is that you're watching a lot of older anime and it's newer, or if it is newer, it's very obscure. I think if you start watching some of the popular, newer anime that has been released, there could be something you could replace One Piece with. I agree with that 100%. I'm going to do that. Now, the question is, what the hell is new and popular? So, let me know in the comments. Plastic Sissus says, I agree, seasonal anime might have more views because more people are actively watching the older anime since it's released weekly. It might be easier to do 2 to 3 seasonal series at a time. Yeah, I think so. That's what we're going to do. We just need to figure out which ones. But yeah, I mean, that sounds good to me because I've been doing the old shit and like one of the other things, like I haven't had time to do Bleach and JoJo, but man, the views are not great, you know. And I've got people that ride my ass about Boruto and Yu, or I would probably have let them drop off. It only takes 1 or 2 loud people. Be loud. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, where the F is Bleach, man? Where the F is JoJo? Don't be afraid to do that shit. Because otherwise, I'm like, hey, nobody gives a shit. All right. It's only getting 20 views a video. Hey, nobody hit notice that it's gone. Ain't nobody commenting. All right. I can let it slide. It's when you're up my ass about it, man. Just, you know, ride my ass like it's Friday night. That's all I'm saying. Just because I'm not going to be offended. I'm never going to be, because here's what kills me. I've seen other channels do this. Do they get offended? Hey man, I got a life to live too, right? Like, you know, I'm living a life here, man. Like, we all know that, man. We all living lives out here. Where's your shit? Normies, why did you skip Angel last Saturday night? We know you had it already recorded. Why didn't you publish that shit? Shit made me mad, man. I'm waiting for them. I got my little meal ready. I want to watch Normies react to a couple Angel episodes. They never posted it. The hell, man? No, I'm going to be in your shit about it. I get it. We all got lives. I don't understand being upset or offended or pressured or in any way feeling negative about somebody being like, hey, man, I want this thing that you do. I spent 15 years begging people to watch my shit when I was a filmmaker. Man, it was like pulling teeth, man, independent short film. Oh, man, you know, I got a thing. Ah, oh, shit, man. You know, a feature film, that shit's 2 hours off. Hell no, man. It's a Friday night, man. Damn, I got shit to do. Begging people to watch my shit. Now, people want to watch my shit. They're waiting on it. They're in a hurry to watch it. Why the hell am I going to be mad about that? Man, that is a huge compliment. Like, I can only do what I can do. I work all the time, right? You know, either I'm doing my side job, which is killing me right now. It takes a lot of time away from me. That's why things have slowed down here on the channel. Because I need to make money, man. I'm broke. So I'm doing a side job. But otherwise, when I ain't doing that every hour of day, other than maybe 3 hours a week, I play Civ 5. Look, kill me. Shoot me in the face. 3 hours a week, I play Civ 5, right? Other than that, I'm doing this shit. I ain't dating. I ain't going to see no movies. I don't go out to eat. I'm doing this, right? So I know in my heart, I think another thing, the reason this pisses off other channels, they know they could put more time in the channel. They know it. They know they could. Now, they got work-life balance. They actually have people that love them. They actually have people that want to spend time with them. So, okay, yeah, we got that, you know. Go out, have your date on Friday night, I guess. If you're into sex, I suppose, you know, got to devote actual time, face-to-face time with people to get the sex. We understand that. Fine, whatever. But they know they could have stayed home and did more work on the channel, right? I know there is no possible way, unless I can multiplicity my ass or get a second computer, there ain't any day that goes by where I could have done more. And you know, I don't think so. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know, like, when that would have been. Maybe there was a day or two. But, you know, the Civ thing, yeah, I'm trying to stay sane here, you know. So I got to kill some Mongols every now and then. You know? Get my ass kicked. Boy, I only play on deity level. They be kicking my ass, man. So finally, it's like, effing hell, man, dude. I'm getting stomped out. It's turned 65. I already got 2 civilizations invading my ass. All right, fine. Psh, shut it off. I'll get back to work. If I was better at the game, I would get less work done. But man, they'd be kicking my ass. So it's like, all right, I guess I'll get back to work because this feels worse than work. Make me feel bad, man. Civ 5 is the only game where you get pissed off at something that isn't real. The computer AI is not real, man. There's nothing in it. It's not a human brain. There's no sentience there. You get so mad. It's like, man, I ain't stopping until I kill this sumbitch. He stabbed me in the back. He said he wasn't going to invade me. Look at him. Traipsing through. He done took my city and shit. They come in 25 deep. I've only had time to build 3 military units. They got 25. Boy, you get so mad. Anyway, I suck at it, so I don't play it much. Point being, I really do believe that that's why other channels I've seen them, they get testy. They know they can put more time in, and so they feel bad. It makes them feel guilty, right? That's never going to happen here. We got 2 things working in your favor when you ask me where is X, right? Number 1, it's a huge compliment that you ever want to watch any of my shit. I've had a lifetime of being told, man, I don't want to watch that crap. So now that somebody actually wants to watch my shit, man, this is Christmas every day, right? And number 2, there's no extra work I could have possibly done. So I don't have any guilt trip. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel bad about none of this shit. It'll come when it comes, right? But now there is that third factor I talked about. If don't nobody ever ask about a show, I might let it die. Ain't nobody said jack shit about Bleach. At least a couple people have been a little bit, at least they comment on JoJo, right? I don't even think I've been getting comments on Bleach. Bleach dropped off a little faster. I'm going to get back to it, by the way, because I actually want to see more of the story. But I would have already probably somehow found time, maybe done a fewer episodes of One Piece or something, because I did a hell of a lot last week. I would have done fewer episodes of One Piece if somebody's like, man, come on, Bleach, man, Bleach, you know. And I think some people are just afraid to leave a comment asking about shit because the other channels will bite their heads off or block them or something or get mad, you know? And we're not here to get mad at each other. It has nothing to do with that. We're here to have fun. Like I'm supposed, my job, as I see it, is to take you away from all that crap, all that negativity. Let's have fun for an hour or two, you know? Let's laugh. That shit's going to be out there when you're done with me. But for now, let's laugh. So why would we getting angry at each other and shit? Passive aggressive and up in our feelings and crap. That's never gonna happen here. I'm a grown ass man. I'm old too. Old people don't have time to get angry. They don't have time to be passive aggressive. They don't have time to get up in their feelings. They're tired, man. They're old and they're tired. They ain't got time. They just want positivity and they want to laugh. That's what we're gonna get here, right? So if there's something I can't get to or I'm late on some shit, ride my ass like it's Friday night. And that'll be a motivating factor. I'll figure it out, you know. If not, I'm going to focus on the shit I want to do. Like I said, I did, let me see, I think it was 10 or 12 episodes of One Piece last week. I really only need to do like 5 or 6. I only do 5. I'm supposed to do 5 a week. But I'm ahead, right? I'm doing like the super early access shit. So I'm up to 11:19. And what just got dropped yesterday was either up to 11:05 or 11:10 or something like that. So I'm at least 9 ahead. It's maybe more. I can't remember. But I think I'm 9 ahead. So it would have been okay if I was only 4 ahead. And I would have spent that hours with those 5 episodes doing Bleach or JoJo, but ain't nobody said shit. So that's where we're at. Just so you know. What the hell started all that? I don't remember. Oh, we're just talking about, like, well, the old anime, you know, my point in all this was Bleach, JoJo, old anime. Although JoJo is getting another season, so that's just more motivation for me to keep doing it because I think it's relevant, it's in the public eye, and people want the backlog, right? So Bleach, boy, you better start getting better views and you better start having people comment because that may be what drops. That may be what, because like I'm already kind of burned out on the long ass training sequences, and I've been told there's only going to be more. I love the characters. I don't want to drop the show, but man, that it's old. It's old, and there just ain't many people watching that shit. So we'll see what happens. But that's my thought process. All right, Power of Death. I actually commented in the Worst Mother and tried to describe things she did, but I think YouTube took it down. I mentioned probably because things I mentioned probably flagged for removal. Jesus. What did this bitch do, man? I remember seeing this comment. That's why I laughed. I actually saw this one. he said some shit she did that got flagged from New York City, man. And, oh, man, hold on now. We can't be having this shit on here. You can get that shit off this channel. Like, I didn't do it. Man, he got the YouTube algorithm was like, hell no. Boy, you crazy coming up here and talking about this. What kind of heinous shit did this bitch do, man? That you can't even allude to it. Which, I probably, who knows, I might watch the show someday, so don't, like, be all graphic. But anyway, apparently she is Ragyo in Kill LA Kill. Since I don't want to comment, since I don't want this comment deleted again, you can look her up. Unless you don't want to bother, either way it's fine with me. Well, I just don't know if I'll ever watch that or not, so I don't want to spoil myself. But also, I'm intrigued because apparently this shit was so heinous. You can't even describe it. Like, maybe you didn't allude good enough, you know? Like self-murder rather than the other word, you know? I don't know. I'm assuming she didn't do that. But, you know, I mean, there could be euphemisms. But then again, like if, I don't know what country Power Death's from, but there could be euphemisms like Germany. If you live in Germany, you could be on some, yeah, she stuffed the monkey in the pillow. I don't know what the hell that means. There's our random comedy. You'll get that later, right? Randomness does not comedy make. All right, Ariel. The My Hero movies are actually considered canon now. I need to get to those. The author of the manga even incorporated characters from the movies into the manga, some of whom were shown this latest season, like Melissa from the movie you have watched, and other characters were mostly shown like in a montage of characters reacting to what was going on. But you wouldn't notice or recognize them if you hadn't seen the movies. Yeah, so that makes sense. I do need to go watch those, because that'll be something else I can do with, you know, all this spare time I have. Hunter Stone. I have one idea that may fix your Too Many Pirates issue. This was brilliant. I think I've even talked about this in reactions since then. But I think a lot of pirates are under Emperor's fleets. And all the Emperors we have seen have islands under their control, so you can get like food, resources. Like they actually, it's like having a land in the Middle Ages, right? Like if you had land in the Middle Ages and you had peasants, which you would have, serfs, I guess I call them, your ass was rich. You had resources, right? So as long as you had land, if you're some traveling bandit, you ain't got land, you're broke. Well, you could be a bandit, but if you had land, you had resources, right? So that's what this was. That makes a whole lot of sense. I didn't factor that in at all, and that is true. We have seen that. Look at how many islands Big Mom had. She seemed pretty self-sufficient for the shit she needed. And she could also get people like, you know, build ships if you need ships repaired or built or whatever. You got that many islands, you got people that can do everything. Doctors, all the food you need, obviously. You need more people just to man the ships, like just somebody who can tie knots and, you know, bring out to be the cook or whatever. You can pull from all these islands, right? You have the resources, material and people, because you own property. This is another one of those, by the way, that comment shows up twice for some reason. Dumbass. I don't understand why it does that. It seems to be the ones I replied to. Because I also replied to this one, and it shows up twice. Is it because I replied to it? Why the hell would that happen? Very weird. It's and they're formatted differently. Like, it's the same comment, but it's 4 lines of text the first time, and it's 5 lines of text the second time. Why in the hell would that be? It's so weird, man. I wonder if, like, it doesn't say edited, though. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but, like, it's so weird. We know both Whole Cake Island and Wano, both are used to create food for the pirate crew. Another thing we've seen is that for island protection emperors, make the citizens create food for them or other resources, potentially, on a consistent basis. As seen when Fishman Island was creating candy for Big Mom's protection. But you can see, like, you know, not gas, but guess they just use sails, right? So whatever, you know, like say this island's really good at making sails. That's right, 20%. This is a really good point. It does explain some of this because you have an entire pirate ass economy, right? So it makes me feel a hell of a lot better about the world building now that I keep that in mind. Another Hunterstone, when you read my Sanji comment, it came off as so mean. I didn't think so. I was just saying, man, I don't hate him. Like, I could see you thinking I hated him. That's the one you're talking about, I think it is. I can see people thinking I hate him, like actually hate him. There's only, for now, we'll just talk about, there's one character I most definitely hate. I've already recorded that. You'll see it later in this podcast. I hate that so much. Sanji didn't even make the list. Of course, he's not comedy relief. I was ranking comedy relief characters, right? But, sorry if it came off like that. It didn't. I didn't see it that way. It was supposed to be more joking. I understood that. I understand you don't hate Sanji, right? But, yeah, you know, tone and text is hard to track. But I can see people thinking I do. So I just wanted to clarify that. I realized something recently. We never agree on anything I say in the comments. When will we ever agree on something? And then I said, Hal said it best. I don't need people who agree with me. I already know what my thoughts are. I need new ideas. And I agree. I believe that. Now, obviously, it helps if you're not antagonistic. Like, why do you believe that, you son of a bitch? Which we see in anime all the time. Oh, you think this? Fate Zero just did this. It's like, how dare... Well, you think this? I'm not even going to respect you. I don't even want to ever talk to you again. Because that's what you think. Like, but, you know, I don't care about people agreeing with me because, like, I already know what I think, like I said, right? You know, so, I don't mind co-signing people. Like, you know, for instance, this, babu blah, 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 blah. Apparently, everybody loves it. I'm the only one who hates it. I wouldn't mind a couple people co-signing me on this. I feel a little lost in the wilderness. Like, I feel lonely, you know? I'm the only person who hates this? So seriously? Is that possible? It made the number one on the list of most hated anime comedies. I'm the only person who don't like it. So I don't mind co-signing, but it's way more interesting if you have a different angle or a different thought or something you disagree with so we can meet somewhere. Or like with this whole island thing, right? Like, you know, I didn't consider that. I didn't factor that in. If you're like, oh man, that's disagreeing with him, I guess I just won't say it. Then we wouldn't have found out something really interesting, which is maybe the world building makes more sense than I thought it did. Because I forgot to factor that in. I didn't really think about it. So you need disagreement. You need people. I never wanted the yes men when I was doing a production. You can't have that. You can't have yes men when you're writing scripts. You know who has yes men? That dumbass who did The Room. Wizo, whatever. He had a bunch of yes men. No, didn't nobody tell him to his face, look, this is stupid. This movie sucks. Don't release it. You need those people. You need these people in life. I needed somebody in Final Archive. That first short film I did, it's horrible, heinous. That was an atrocity on mankind. It was so bad. My one of the actors in it told me, man, you know this sucks, right? And I was like, no, I don't know that. And I looked at it again, and I was like, oh shit, this sucks. And it was like a light switch in my head. I didn't realize it sucked. It was the first thing I'd ever done. It's the first film I'd ever finished. I wrote it. I didn't direct it, but I produced it. I wrote it, produced it, financed it, cast it, edited it, and put it out there. I had done everything but direct it. And didn't realize it sucked. And because I'd done everything but direct it. It was my first time I'd ever done anything like this. So I finished. I was so happy to finish it. I didn't realize how much it blew, right? Boy, did it blow. You need these people, man. You need these people to say, hey, man, this ain't it. This ain't it, champ. This sucks. So, and yeah, you don't agree with all the contrary comments like I was talking about before. Like, I'm not doing thumbnails. I don't give a shit how many people tell me. But I don't mind you telling me. I just ain't going to do it. It's never going to happen. But you can tell me. So that's fine, right? Like, but you need these people with these other opinions. The people that don't get that end up being like Prince, Michael Jackson. These people that are so isolated. They were so big and so rich and so isolated. Everybody kissing their ass. It ended up killing Michael Jackson. He had nobody telling him, hey man, maybe you shouldn't be put into a medical coma every night and revived every morning. Maybe you should. He had nobody to tell him that. There was nobody in his life who could tell him that. You need these people. It could literally mean life or death. Not in this case, but, you know, it keeps me from embarrassing myself. Like, hey, I ain't talking about the shitty world building anymore because you brought up something. Hey, you're right. So you need dissension. You really do, man. Like, and that's speaking to anybody. Like, whatever you do in life, you have to have. Most people, it's just like they have the kind of life where they do a 9-to-5 job, so that they don't have anybody answering to them. They're not making decisions. They're not calling shots. But in their home life, they need that friend who can tell them, "Hey, you're letting this kid go wild, man. You better do something about this." Or, "Hey, your husband's being a dick right now. Why don't you, whatever, right?" Like, you need somebody to tell you the truth as they see it. They don't always know the truth. They could be wrong, and oftentimes they are. But you need them not to be afraid to tell you what they perceive of as the truth. It could be super beneficial. Funnily enough, when you actually started talking serious about Sanjay, I disagree with something you said. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to talk about our disagreements anymore. Oh, man. Well, hey, then Sanjay sucks. Nobody pushed back. He sucks. It was probably about how he's the world's best cook, which means he can only ever be his fighting talent can only ever be at least second in his life. It's probably something like that. So I'm going to say it again because nobody pushed back. He blows, and he's not on the same level as Zoro. Until somebody contradicts that, I'm going to keep believing that shit. I don't find, ooh, she's so hot, let's go nuts funny. Pan over to 2 YouTube shorts where you go crazy over Lilith's butt. Look, man. I have rarely seen an ass that bodacious. Especially when that ass, if you go up from that ass to the head and go inside the head to that person, the personality, completely effing unhinged, but bright and cheerful about being unhinged. Perfect personality for me. I love crazy. I love crazy chicks, right? Really into it. Which is why I don't date anymore. Because boy, does that ruin your life. But hey, just saying. She's completely unhinged, but she has a bright attitude about it. I just like how cheerful she was when she first meets him, even though she wants to kill him. Yeah, you're gonna die out here, but I'm Vegapunk. I love it. And that ass. So, the thing is, I did it once in 1,119 episodes. Sanji does it every other episode, man. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that bullshit comparison. Disagreement, but I'm just saying, like, you can call me out, you can disagree, but we are disagreeing because I did it once. Really 4 times now, because I talked about it in the episode, I did 2 shorts, and now I'm talking about it again. So I've done it 4 times in 1,119 episodes. 1,119. How often has Sanji done this shit? I'll wait for your answer. More Hunter Stone. When you're fake coughing to hide a word, the word should be able to be heard because I had no idea which character you actually hate. I was saying Buggy, by the way. But I'm not an actor. If I was an actor, I could have executed that properly. But, I'm not, unfortunately. Mada Koyo. As someone who has watched One Piece over 10 times in full, dude, the hell is your job? What the hell is your job where you have time to watch this shit 10 times? Like, I figured it out. 1,120 episodes is 500 hours for the 1,000. 550 hours. Now, I know that it's not actually half-hour shows. I get that. It's really 22 minutes. But we're not going to look at the fine print here. Let's just go big. Approximation. 550 to get to 1,100. So, all right, if we want to take 10% off for the extra, like it's 22 minutes, really less than 22 minutes, let's just round it off at 500. Let's just say it's 500 hours for what we've gotten so far. 5,000 hours watching this shit. Well, I definitely know who to go to if I've got a question about some really obscure fact, man. That was just the first sentence. I wonder how reasonable a One Piece rewatch would be. I know you don't think there is an audience for it, but perhaps it's a good show to have while you find a good long-term one. I at least have enjoyed seeing rewatch reactions when I find them to shows that are as deep as One Piece, given that the reactors can now focus on thinking and discussion rather than pure in the moment reacting. I know every time I've watched it, whether alone or watching somebody, I always find new things about the show. So, let me ask you directly. Where should I start? Because I don't want to, I'm not doing the 500 hours again. So, what would be a good place to start? I'm not even opposed to starting somewhere and then continuing on from there. But I don't see a reason, like that first 100 episodes, I just don't see a reason to do that. I don't know. Water 7 forward feels like a good place because you've got the characterization pretty locked down, you got the world building pretty locked down, and you've got Frankie joining the crew, which is the last big, really game-changing crew member. Jimby's there, but he's not a game changer. And I don't think we've had anybody else permanently join the crew other than Jimby since Frankie, right? So we have the whole crew. I wonder. Let me know. You're the expert. You've seen it so many times. Where should I start? And should I go from there forward, but obviously also skipping filler, right? So that would be a much more streamlined experience. I don't know. Let me know. I know you didn't like Dragon Ball the first time you watched it. This is also Mantico. But it does have just under 650 episodes, 130 weeks at 5 episodes a week. And it's still very popular. Combined Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Dharmia. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of different Dragon Balls. In that, when people say the big 3 animes, they really are referring to Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto. 2 of which you've watched most of and enjoyed. My thing is, I don't know, man. I've seen the Dragon Ball, what the hell it was a comedy series. It kind of summarized Dragon Ball. So I haven't seen yet. I've seen the first 7 episodes, and I watched Dragon Ball, whatever the hell comedy thing, about half of that. So that's not really watching the show. But I don't like that Goku's such a moron. And also, he apparently, like, one time I did a poll, and I had Goku as who's the best fighter, like who would win a cage match with 4 people going in. And it was like Goku, Naruto, Luffy, and somebody else really powerful. And the overwhelming consensus was Goku would solo all of them by himself. Like, that's how powerful he is. So I don't know how interesting it is to watch somebody that powerful. Like, what are the stakes at that point? Like, he must have enemies apparently somewhere on his level, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't say I can't say I've watched enough of it to say I wouldn't like it. But I haven't seen anything that made me excited to try to watch it. So I'm kind of on the fence. So I'm thinking probably not. But I don't know. Like, I'm not closing the door on it. I'm not like totally against it, but I'm probably not. Also, with this whole thing, I'm maybe trying something new, like the newer stuff. See how that goes. If that's an abject failure, maybe we circle back around to Dragon Ball. I don't know. Maybe there's like a lot going on with the ensemble, and like that's what makes it super interesting. I didn't get that sense of it when I watched the first 7 episodes. It seemed pretty formulaic, but those are the first 7 episodes. Like, shows grow and change, right? So I don't know. Andy replied to him and said, yeah, everybody knows about Dragon Ball. It would be a good one to do one day, but I would hope that he starts from the beginning, because jumping straight into Dragon Ball Z can be confusing because you miss all the Dragon Ball. Well, I don't know. Like, here's the other reply. Yeah, I never understood why people skip. I guess they grew up with Dragon Ball Z, so they don't get the choose. Because, yeah, if that's what's on TV, and the original's not on TV, then you're just going to watch what's on TV, right? But Andy is like one of these clerics in, like, the Middle Ages. We're talking about the Middle Ages a lot today. Like, these middle-aged clerics who have these big-ass Bibles. Like, we're talking about, like, fill a damn table. Like, this is like one page of the Bible, right? Like this. And then there's a whole nother page just like it. And these Bibles stay open. They never even close. You go into the library and they're sitting there on one of these big ass tables. And it's a big ass Bible with all the ornate lettering and they've got drawing illustrations on every page and shit. He's the dude to be like saying you ain't read the Bible unless you read that version of the Bible, right? Like he's a completist. Like you gotta experience everything, So, is it true? Like I don't know. So I'm talking on my ass. I'm just saying I don't know, but could you just do Dragon Ball Z? And Goku is this guy, and here is his friends, and here's the bad guys, and here's the powers of the Dragon Ball balls, right? And you're good to go. Do you need to know that in the original series, 400 episodes ago, Goku once spent a night in this forest in a cabin, and there was an old man there who gave him a cup of soup, and they got on pretty good, and he liked him. And the old man died in the middle of the night, and Goku was sad about that. Do you need to know that to enjoy Dragon Ball Z? Like, I wonder, objectively speaking, what was in the original series that you have to have experienced to more deeply enjoy the Dragon Ball Z? I'm not making fun of Andy or anybody else. It's like, there's a lot of people like this. He's the one that commented, so I brought him out. But, I wonder about that. I wonder because I think sometimes it's just because you have, like, I'll give you a good example. On Buffy, there is a character who is a demon, and she's lived a really long time. She's lived like 1,000 years, okay? And so she was at a party in the 1800s, undercover, pretending to just be some woman that was part of some family there in town. And she'd been playing the long con. Apparently she'd been doing this for a while, right? Because she's setting up something for her evil plan, like, right? She's going to do some evil shit, right? So she's there undercover. She's been undercover for weeks. And there's another character who's kind of a nerd wimp type dude who comes to this party, and everybody's kind of mean to him. But he's, over the course of these weeks, he has kind of gotten a huge crush on this woman, okay? So they show this in flashbacks that he comes onto her and she's just savagely destroys him. Just takes a big piling dump on his ego and his self-esteem and just completely obliterates him. Now, the first time you watch the series, you just see her there at the party. You don't know she's a demon. She's just there at the party. She says this mean thing, okay? He gets his feelings hurt, he cries, he leaves, and then that happens to be when he gets turned into a vampire because he left the party, right? So that happens. This flashback happens in season 5. In season 6, now, when was that character first shown as a demon? I think it was probably season 6. Early in season 6, and through the course here and there, like just randomly show up. Season 6, right? She's a demon. Like she shows up as a demon. The same actress. Now, a lot of times in Buffy, they'll have one actor play a role and then later come back as a different role. Like the guy who played Andrew in season 6 and 7 played a small role in season 5, I think. 4, maybe 4. Season 4. He played a small role as a vampire, got dusted. They brought him back 2 seasons later as a completely different character. Same actor. So most people assume when they saw this same actress come back that she was just an actress playing a different character. But there's one moment in season 6 where she turns, notices this dude that she blew off at the party and hurt his feelings. It says, "Wait a minute," and it says his name, right? And he looks back at her. He's like, "Wait a minute." And so they have this moment of recognition. But neither one of them wants to admit about it. They don't want to reflect on this horrible ass past, right? Like, first of all, he's like, how the hell is she here after all this time? And she's like, damn, I thought he would have. She may have not even known he ever got turned into a vampire, right? Because he was just a human when she knew him. So, here's my question. There's all this subtext to that moment where if you know all this, and most people realize this via interviews later, or just rewatch, and making connections. Same actress, probably same character. It was confirmed by the writers it is the same character, right? So, do you have less enjoyment of this scene if you don't know any of this context? I would say yes. Objectively speaking, yes. But you can just read it as this is some old girlfriend. We know she's a 1,000-year-old demon, and we know this guy who plays a vampire has been around for 250 years. So you could just read that moment as, oh, this is somebody I had a one-night stand with 150 years ago. A little embarrassing. Let's move on. And you can just read. That's what most people read it as when they first experienced the scene. They don't realize until later, interviews, whatever, fans telling them, it's the same character. We saw the interaction back here, and now we're seeing a little bit of an interaction here. So, objectively speaking, that is a case where knowing the full backstory, having watched previous shit and made connections, actually made this scene more enjoyable. So, I'm open to that possibility. I'm not shitting on saying it's impossible for extra context. Now, how much more enjoyment would you get out of that? I like it. Like, I watch that scene, and I'm thinking about what he must be thinking. This bitch said this shit to me back then. Turns out she's been a demon this whole time. That's why she said that shit. Some people speculate she was actually doing him a favor because she wanted to get him out of here so she could kill everybody else at the party. We never know what happens to everybody else in the party. It's a good theory. I like it. So, every time I watch that scene, because I have all the extra context, I like it more. I enjoy it more. But you could just experience that, how much you lose not having that nuance, right? Not very much, I don't think. So, I'm just putting this out there. Is it always the case that you need all that shit? Because apparently, like, an entire generation just watched Dragon Ball Z, not the other shit, because it wasn't available in the United States, and they were fine. But, is it really like watching it with just one hand over an eye? You know, I don't know. I don't know. So, you obviously feel one way. I wouldn't mind elaborating in the comments. I don't think we should automatically say you have to have all the backstory of every scene ever made to enjoy it. But I think a lot of times it does help. I just realized I've been recording for an hour and 20 minutes just on the Q&A. We still have other shit besides the character stuff I spent over an hour talking about. So the comedy stuff, main topic. So we need to start speedrunning this a little bit. I need to pick up the pace here a little bit. So, Ariel, I'm not great at coming up with topics. The only possibilities I could think of is maybe what you did with the Wano arc in One Piece, even though I dropped that show a while back. Oh, man, that show's good. Maybe a podcast could be geared towards a season, series, arc, finishing up in a particular show that you want to say a lot about. Although it probably only appeal to those who watched a particular show. Unless you want to do a compare and contrast to a similar show. Either that or talk about a particular episode in more depth. Pretty much an expansion of your episode spotlight. Though it could be an episode that you recently watched. And not necessarily really watched, like maybe you watched it a month or two ago. And you post a poll with the other options. So it's still fresh in your mind, or where it stood out to you, or you want to talk about more, analyze in some way. Though this could also be used for monthly extra content. Yeah, I think there's going to be some hybrid of all that, right? Because I'm doing the thing with Attack on Titan. That's going to be my special bonus podcast that serves as extra content until I need it to tide me over for when I can't do a regular podcast. I'm going to probably do a couple more. I'm looking for suggestions of what those shows should be. Maybe Fullmetal. Maybe Kaguya Love is War, although we got more coming. So, I can also see, like, you know, like the extra, like 1 month's extra content. I still owe something for July. I just finally finished June. We've got 10 days left in July. Time is running, man. So, these are good ideas. I like them. And I'm already doing one as we speak. Black Clover is officially getting continued, so it might see a resurgence of popularity soon. It currently has 170 episodes and a movie to catch up on. The movie isn't canon, but it's very good. Probably best watched after you've watched the 170 episodes because it's character designs, powers, etc. That could be spoilers if you watched it too soon. I'm just going to go with whatever Ariel says, right? Like whatever the viewing order is. You know, I don't think I've ever countermanded a viewing order. Ever. Once. I did it once with Naruto. That's the only time I've ever gone against what somebody suggested as a viewing order. So yeah, I'm pretty open to all that. Hunter Stone. After a few minutes of research, I couldn't find anything concrete, but Oda was the executive producer and was involved in the writing of the script for Red. We're talking about. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. So far I've seen 2 One Piece movies and they've both been great. Hunter Stone. I don't really care if an anime movie is canon or not. Why should I be worried about if it's canon to the anime? Only in that if it's not canon to the anime, you ain't never seen these characters again, and whatever happened to this, you ain't gonna see any evolution of. So some people, not me, not you clearly, but some people are like, I'm wasting my time, you know? Like, here's these cool ass characters that join our group and do these cool things, and we learn these backstories and we learn all this stuff about them, and we ain't never gonna see them again. Kind of feels like a waste of time. I don't know, man. I don't really buy into that. I've heard this. I don't buy into it because of the, when we watched Inception, was it a waste of time since they never did any more Inception movies? No, it's a great movie. Watch it for the experience. You don't need it, even if there is a series, a continuation series that never references anybody in the movie Inception. They used to use the same dream technology. That don't mean shit. Just, you had a good experience with the movie. Now you can enjoy the TV series. Not everything has to be connected. I love connected storytelling. I love the MCU, and I love the fact that all these people exist in the same world. But you don't have to do it that way. But I think that's people's objection with non-canon movies, is they're wasting their time because these characters are never going to come back. Now, I can feel that way. Sometimes with filler episodes in One Piece, I feel that way. There was a couple cool-ass characters in filler. I was disappointed I would never see again. It even happened to me in Boruto recently, but then she came back, so that was good. So, I think that's the biggest objection people would have. Kill Code. I think within the last 5 years or so, most of the new anime movies are essentially taking shorter arcs and putting them in movie form, which is exactly what I said they should do. That is cool. I like that they're doing that. It stemmed from the Dragon Slayer movie, which adapted the arc directly after season 1 and became the highest grossing film in all time in Japan. Good job. This is what you should do, right? A movie is essentially 6 episodes, maybe 7. Maybe a little bit even more if you've got like a longer movie. Anime movies, by the way, tend to be about 2 hours. American animated movies run from about 80 to 100 minutes most of the time. Much shorter. They don't give a shit, man. In Japan, they're going to run that shit out. They're doing a full ass 2 hours. So you can get 7, 8 episodes up in there. So that's, if you're talking, it's not a direct 1-to-1 because like the manga issues don't correlate 1-to-1 to episodes. Typically, I think what I've heard is that it's like 2 issues is 1 episode typically. So if you take like a 14, 16 issue arc, you could easily turn that into a movie, which is what they should do. And I think it sounds like they are doing that. After that success, in addition to Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan had the final part, a movie. Made in Abyss had a movie covering a canon arc. Gintama had the final arc as a movie. The next arc of Chainsaw Man is going to be a movie. I was wondering what the hell was going on with that. We had a 12-episode season, and I ain't heard jack shit from Chainsaw Man in years, man. I reacted to that like a year or 2 ago. I think. I don't know. I don't remember. But, like, it's about time to do something with that. And Rascal Does Not Dream had 3 movies coming from 4 arcs between seasons 1 and 2. That's pretty cool. Demon Slayer, which I'm doing soon, is also having a final arc consists of 3 movies. That's really cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought they should do. Gintama, this is from Ruji, who sponsored Gintama, by the way. Gintama, top 1. We keep winning. Clap, clap, clap. On top of anime movies being canon, Gintama has 3 movies, of which 2 are canon. 1 movie is basically a remastered version of an arc, and the other one is the actual finale of the show, but in movie form. Already looking forward to reacting to the first movie since they span around episodes 58 to 61, and so we're getting them this year, I think. Yeah, definitely. Gonna start separating my comments to like the others, make it more legible. Yeah, he'd be doing them long ass comments, which I like, but I can't read it all. And I talk about how the idea of canon in a show this comedic is pointless. Everything serves the comedy, especially the world building and continuity. So I think whatever is canon is whatever is most funny. If it's most funny to ignore canon, they will. Futurama is a great example of this. This is how I see it. He had a reply. Funnily enough, there are filler episodes in Gintama, but they're practically indistinguishable from normal episodes, unless you have a key sense for the author's writing style. But yeah, I think like continuity doesn't matter in comedies. A series this comedic anyway. I doubt they had great continuity in blah 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 blah. Right? So why would you? It's a comedy series. They didn't have. Well, they had pretty good continuity in Great Teacher Osinka and Kaguya Love is War. But Gintama is so over the top, I don't think continuity matters. I seriously don't. Like, I don't care. And I don't think anybody else cares. Whatever funny is wins the day, right? This is D4C. Being a top-tier patron gives an interesting perspective on the struggles balancing the lower tiers. To be fair, I know plenty of anime with bad mothers, but I wouldn't want to spoil them for you. Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? It's like, I have not seen enough anime to have done a question like that. I probably should have waited another year or two. Because I really think that I've only seen... Have I even seen one bad mother? I've seen plenty of bad fathers. We talked about that, right? I don't know that I've seen a bad mother in anime yet. If I have, it's one or two. So then all I'm doing is getting spoiled, right? So there's probably just too soon to have had that topic. I'll think more about that when I propose topics moving forward, because you don't want to propose a topic that's going to either get you spoiled or have people prevent from saying anything for fear of spoiling you, because that's pointless. It's counterproductive. So I'll keep that more in mind from now on. This is Andy. I grew up on Naruto. I definitely have nostalgia for it. I have every Naruto video game. I wonder what those are like. What the hell is a video? Is it a fighting game? Is it an open world sandbox? There apparently is an open world sandbox game of One Piece that sucks tons of ass. It's hard to believe they can't make good video games out of these stories. Massive worlds, interesting characters, fighting all over the place. And he didn't say whether they're good or not. I'm saying with One Piece I've heard it's bad. Let me know. What are the video games any good? If I watched it as an adult, I think I still would have liked it because it's a really good anime and has some incredible moments. But now that I have seen a lot of other anime, I realized that the author who made Naruto wasn't the hero I always thought of him to be. Most of his ideas for powers and even plot points were from other manga animes, like some examples being Yu Yu and Hunter x Hunter. And it kind of hurt me to explore more anime and find that out, but I'll always be thankful for the childhood the show Naruto gave me. If I watched Naruto as an adult after watching other anime first, I think it would mean a lot less because of all the same powers and ideas came from anime before Naruto that I just never knew about. When I was a kid, Dragon Ball Z and Naruto were the mainstream animes. When I was a kid, they were really the only ones that came on TV in the US. I talk about here, the way I see it is, it's not what you're inspired by, it's what you do with the inspiration. There's nothing new under the sun. The people who inspired Naruto were themselves inspired by other people. George Lucas was inspired by Hidden Fortress and Saturday movie theater serials. But so what? Star Wars was awesome. That's my 2 cents anyway. Yeah, I just, I don't think that diminishes my view of Naruto or the author in any way. I watched it as an adult. I'm seeing other anime. I'm seeing the inspiration. In fact, I watched Hunter x Hunter before I watched Naruto. And it's a great show because it's about the characters, right? It's not about the powers. It's not about the plots. It's about the characters. If you nail the characters, it don't matter what the hell they're doing. They could be waving feather dusters at each other, man. Who gives a shit about what the hand signs are, what the magic is, and how you attack people? Like, that's all fun. We can do a deep dive on that shit. I eventually want to do what's the dumbest ass power. So we're going to talk about powers. But none of that shit matters if the characters are trash. Right? Naruto is a great character. His ensemble is a great bunch of characters. The teachers, the adults, they're all great, man. They're memorable. They stand out. They're original. Everything is inspired by everything else. The dude who wrote Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu, you tell me he had no inspiration in his life. None. Like, nobody ever inspired. He never watched anything. He was born, didn't watch jack shit, didn't read comics, didn't read books, nothing. Not a damn thing. Got to be 15, 16 and started creating these stories. That's what happened? Or did he watch and shit and get inspired by that shit? Everybody's inspired by somebody, right? So, for me, it's what you do with it. My thing was, I had a great idea for a movie. You know how they always have those movies where it's like, you think there's another person there, Fight Club. Sorry to spoil that 20-year-old movie, but there's not. Like, you think there's another character in the movie and they don't exist because it's all in the dude's head. We've seen that a dozen times, right? I even saw a great example of it where they want you to think that the person's not there. It turns out they're actually there. And that was a big twist at the end of the movie. Like, everything was pointing to the fact they weren't there, but then they were, right? So I've even seen that twist on it. My thing is, I want to do a movie. I wrote the script. There's a character in the entire movie, and you don't realize they're there until the end of the movie. And the way that happens is the movie is being told from the point of view of somebody who's had his memory modified. So this dude, you start the movie at the end of the story. This guy gets captured by the police, and he's telling the police what happened. So he tells them the story of the movie, right? There was another guy there doing the actual crimes. And our main character don't know it because he's had his memory erased. Like, he's had his memory modified where he don't remember the other dude that was there. And so everything in the movie makes sense that he did it alone until you get to the end of the movie and you realize that other dude was there the whole time. And then you go back and rewatch the movie again. Then it makes sense that the other person was there. And there were signs that the other person was there the whole time. And you just didn't notice it. So it's a twist. There's a character who's in the movie who doesn't exist. And you flip it around backwards. And you make it, there's a character in the movie we don't know is there, right? That was my idea. I tell this to everybody. Like, I was pitching this back in 2009 in the American Film Market, Los Angeles. And everybody loved the idea. I just couldn't get it to work in script form. They loved it. Like, that's the one pitch I ever had that everybody I pitched that to immediately wanted to read the script. And none of them liked the script. Like, I just couldn't make the script work. Like, it was there in my head. If I financed myself, I think it'd be a great movie. I just couldn't get anybody to buy in. It was just so complicated. Like, how to make it all work and, the whole thing, it was really super complicated. People just don't want to read a complicated script. And maybe it sucked, I don't know. But I had a bunch of people tell me, don't pitch this. Somebody's going to steal this idea. It's too good. Nobody's ever done this. You've never seen a Hollywood movie where this happened. And they said, don't pitch it. Somebody's going to steal it. And my thing about that is, I don't give a shit who steals my ideas because you can't execute it as good as I can. Now, I say that, but I never sold the script. So, can I execute it well? I don't know. But that's always been my philosophy. Let me put it this way. Let me put it a less egotistical way. You can't execute the script in the way I would execute it. You're going to execute it in a very different way. You hear that pitch, you're going to take it a whole different direction and do a completely different thing with it. They're going to be two different stories. So steal my shit. I don't care. I'm going to execute it my way, and I like my way. The only way it could be a problem is if you get your script to people first, and then I try to pitch my script, and because they've already bought the other one, they don't want to do one that feels so similar. I guess that would suck. I don't know. I mean, I never worried about that shit. Because inspiration is everywhere. It's how you execute it. It's what you do with it that matters. So that's how I see it. Like I said, I'm trying to speed run this shit here a little bit. Alright, next Andy comment. The manga still never... Oh, this is where we were talking about Hunter x Hunter and there's a reveal. This is about that. I don't want to read this comment out loud because, like, there's some people that may want to know nothing about this shit. So, it's there. The comment is there. It's from 10 days ago. It's episode 8. You can go there and check out Andy's comment. He's got the number in front of it, 13410, whatever. So, You can go check out the comics if you want to. I'm not going to read it for fear of spoiling people. Alright, last comments from Barracuda. I think you should have posted less episodes of the big anime titles like Naruto, One Piece, etc. instead of 10 per week. What I've seen other creators do is one or two episodes per week. Yeah, I mean, I saw this comment a while back, and probably, maybe, I don't know. It made sense at the time. You know, I mean, I'm pretty much a card played kind of person. You know, you want to do an autopsy of things that you did so that you don't repeat mistakes. But on the other hand, I don't know if I would have been able to follow the story if I was doing less episodes. It's such a unique unicorn case. Like, there is no other show like this out there. So complicated, so many characters, so many episodes. Usually you have two of those things, but this had all three. So complicated, so many characters, so many episodes. So it probably worked out for the best, I think. You know, I mean, we can Monday morning quarterback it, but I think if I ever run into another series that has 1,500 episodes, I'll probably do it differently. Also, an idea to bring more people to maybe react to some gacha game character trailers. There are some games where they introduce new characters every month and make promotional material to sell them to players. Gacha and anime spaces are intertwined because gacha stem from anime culture. I have seen YouTube content creators do reacts to these videos, and this can bring more people to your channel. I know it's not your goal, just putting this out there as an option and wanting to try it. I personally would love to see some reacts to the promotional videos. And to my knowledge, there should be no copyright issues when reacting to them. And I asked him to link me to a couple. Let's see here. Yeah, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. There's some, like, this is kind of inside baseball. I'm open to this. I think I'm going to try it. He's given me a couple ideas of what to try. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It might be fun. Sounds fun. I'm not really into the game reactions. I know some people just like, because I don't have the technology to play a lot of these games, and some people just react to the game cutscenes. It's not really my thing. I want a coherent, full-length story, and the cutscenes will never be that. I'm not really a game reaction channel, but this sounds fun and different, so it's at least worth a try, right? Just try it. Yeah, I do trailers, so this is something I'll look into. All right, well, Jesus Christ, that was a long. That's my longest Q&A ever. But hey, let's keep making them longer and longer, man. I need those comments. Fuel the algorithm. Leave all the comments and do them as separate comments, like Ruji was saying. Not only does it help us understand the comments better, but also extra comments means extra algorithm juice, right? We need that algorithm juice. All right, well, that is the Q&A. So the next thing we're going to talk about, well, feedback, I guess, is an anime episode highlight. And I'll need a break, though, because I've been talking for a long time. All right, now we're going to do the anime episode highlight. Somebody in the comments might have been talking about I should elaborate more on the episode, but I don't want to spoil it. Really, the point of this is to tell you, go here and watch this episode and see what you think of it. Or if you have seen it, do you agree with me? Not really to recap the episode. That's not my intention. It's more because I watch a lot of shit. This stood out. Like, in the past 2 weeks, I have seen probably 15 to 20 episodes of One Piece, 4 episodes of Fate Zero, 6 to 8 episodes of Gintama, 4 episodes of Alice in Borderlands. I know it's not anime. We'll be getting there at some point. I want to talk about that shit, because if I've ever seen live action anime, this is it. They adapted straight from the manga to live action. Bold choice. I wish more shows would do that, because that is great, man. So, probably I have seen 40 to 50 episodes of anime. Just ballpark. Maybe more, maybe less. In the past 2 weeks. This is the episode that stood out. So that's the point. It's like this kind of stood out at the top, right? So go watch it. Like last time I talked about Gintama episode 11, which maybe you weren't specific. That may be what you meant, though. Elaborate more on the episode. Go watch that episode. I'm telling you, of all the shit I watch, and I watch a lot of shit. Of all the shit I watch, oh, we're not even talking about Boruto and Yu Yu. Yeah, so definitely at least 40 episodes. Of all the shit I watched, this one thing stood out. That's the point, right? Rather than like recap the episode. Like for instance, Fate Zero episode 16. That is off the hook, off the chain. It's off everything, man. It's off the hood, car hood. Not talking about neighborhood. Off the car hood. It's off the baseball bat. It's off anything you want to think of. It's off, man. Because that episode was wild, man. We start off. They've got this woman. She's sitting there holding on to a fence. And next thing you know, she steps back and her arm is still holding the fence. She got her shit cut clean off. That's just how we started the episode. Man, that's the most wild ass episode of Fate Zero or any other Fate Unlimited Bled, whatever, man. Anything in the franchise, including the 3 movies. That was the most. Just the most. This episode was the wildest. Like they were wilding, man. Wide open. So that was crazy. And so it really, like, sometimes, like with Gintama, it's be the funniest episode. With what else have I highlighted? There was an episode of Bleach I talked about. JoJo. There's definitely an episode of JoJo I talked about. Maybe in the very first podcast, where it's like, okay, this is the episode that lets me know this show has some heart. I like that. This show actually has some heart, right? So that's where I realized the show has some heart. This is the episode that made me realize this show don't give a shit anymore, man. We only got a few episodes left in the entire franchise. I think this is the last property in the franchise, and we're in the last handful of episodes of that last season, right? They don't give a shit anymore. Wide open. They're going crazy, man. So yeah, like I've been talking for less than 4 minutes. I understand it may feels like this is a small segment. Now part of this is just the fact that like I know I've already recorded over an hour of the main topic. Almost 2 hours for the Q&A, and I'm not trying to make this a 4-hour podcast. But part of it is like this is never intended to be a super long segment. It's more go watch the episode. Like, because, you think about it in terms of I watch a lot of shit. It's not like I watch 2 anime episodes a month, right? I watch a lot of shit. So for something to stand out, it has to have done some crazy shit. So that's what this really is. It's not really a recap or, maybe sometimes there'll be some parts of it that I want to talk about. All right, well, speaking of the main topic, let's go ahead and hand off to that. Like I said, I pre-recorded it. That was the first thing I recorded today. So it's rather long, rather involved, and a lot of fun. Even though I'm going to start recording the podcast in a couple minutes, I wanted to record these thoughts here now, having just watched the first episode of Attack on Titan Junior High and the first episode of whatever the hell that second show is called. Jesus Christ. I went to a list, and you'll see this when you watch these. If you go to Patreon, tier 3, you'll see them there. Attack on Titan Junior High is actually pretty decent. But let me finish my thought first. I'm already getting distracted. I went to CBR, whatever the hell website that is, Comic Book Report or whatever. And they're always doing lists, especially with anime. Maybe it's Comic Bulletin Report. What the hell is that? Comic Book Resources, apparently, is what that stands for. Huh. I've done their list several times, actually. Comic Book Resources. I went to their list of the top 10 worst comedy animes ever made. And Attack on Titan Junior High was number 10. It was on the list. It was number 10. It almost missed making the list, but it was on the list. And I watched it, and I actually kind of liked it. Now, it was a little overly reliant on the fact that it's a parody of a well-known series. Just like One Piece, for instance, is still doing its own thing. They've got a shit ton of, like, the One Piece parody, whatever the hell it's called. One Piece in Love, I think it's called. They're doing their own thing. They're telling their own stories, and they have a shit ton of references to and commentary about and making fun of tropes of One Piece. But you can watch One Piece in Love and have never seen One Piece and still laugh. I don't know that you can do that a lot with Attack on Titan Junior High. But I did laugh, though. I laughed out loud. like there were several times I laughed out loud. I enjoyed watching it. I'm gonna watch 2 more, and I wouldn't have done that if I'd hated it. If it had been Boo Boo the Fool, I wouldn't be watching anymore, and I will never watch any more of that show. But this one, Attack on Titan Junior, I'm going to watch 2 more because I'm doing a special Attack on Titan podcast this week. That's going to be my backup podcast. I need a backup podcast episode for when I get too busy. It shouldn't be happening. I'm going to be having a busy August as well. And sometimes I just don't have time to do a podcast. Like, I'm finding that out. I've been wanting to do it, but it has to be, lost in time. It can't be like, you can't have like, answering comments and then people won't see those comments for 8 months, right? Because I don't know when the podcast is going to drop. So I need to record a timeless podcast with comments specific to that podcast, but that are timeless. It doesn't matter that you left a comment 8 months ago and then finally you get your answer because it's specific to the subject of the podcast, which is why I did a post asking questions. You still have time to go to the post. If you read this, go to that post where I ask Attack on Titan questions. Get your question and comments in there before I record. And then you can always watch the episode on Patreon because it'll be there. But even if you don't, the episode will come out at some point when I just don't have time to record a podcast, but it will be timeless. So it'll slot right in. It'll just be an episode. It'll be an unnumbered episode of the podcast that just jumps in there and covers my ass because I would have done that last time. Like if I'd had one ready, I would have done it because I just did not have time to do it that time. That's why I had to switch to Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be better for me, so it may be a while before I have to skip. Sunday, just because I'm recording this on Sunday, but it's like Sunday, 7, it's almost 7, it's 6:59 p.m. when I finally have time to do it. And if it was the podcast coming out in 2 hours, I was going to be late. Like Sunday night just wasn't working for me. The way my workflow is, it's damn near impossible to record it between the Thursday and Sunday that I need to, right? So it's just damn near impossible. So that's what Wednesdays are working much better. But so I'm doing this Attack on Titan podcast that will be my cover my ass special timeless, lost in time episode that someday will be put in public because I need to cover my ass and I need to take a break or whatever. So as part of the fodder for that, to make it a good length podcast, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more episodes of Attack on Titan Junior High because I liked it. Like, it had some good jokes. And there was a running gag where he kept running into people. And they did a lot with that. And I don't remember that happening. It could have happened. Maybe he did it once in the original. I'm sure it came from somewhere. He probably did it once in the original anime. Eren ran into somebody once, something. Maybe. I don't remember, but it may have happened. But they did it as a running gag. They did it as a running gag in the pilot episode. And it was funny. And they're stepping on people and blood was coming out and that had me rolling. Like, I was literally laughing out loud. So, that was good. It was good. It wasn't great. Like I said, I've seen Gintama. And Gintama's and Great Teacher Osenka. Those shows are going to put to shame almost any other comedy. These weren't at that level. But the animation was good. This was obviously created with a lot of time and love. And the characters were cute as hell because they're so tiny. They're tiny versions, but they're recognizable. So that really worked, and just, man, it was all working for me. Now, there was a blonde third dude, a third friend of him, because you have Eren and Misaka, but there was that blonde dude. I can't remember his name. Was that Connie? Was Connie I can't remember the name of the third person. I should probably look that up. I think it's Armin. I don't remember seeing Armin in this first thing. He probably was there. They had a bunch of people in the classroom. But he wasn't hanging out with them, right? He wasn't, like, spending time with them, so he didn't really stick out. Anyway, it was good. They had some good jokes. It made me laugh, and it was enjoyable, and I actually want to watch a couple more episodes. I'm not going to have time to watch the whole series. I think it's like 14 or something. Let me double-check that as well. Looks like 12. They have 12 episodes. I don't know when I'll have time to watch all 12. But I want to. Like, we'll see. Like, it could be declining. Like I said, it's no Gintama, it's no Great Teacher Osenka, it's no Love is War. That's another great comedy. Completely different kind of comedy than the other two. Gintama and Great Teacher have a lot in common. But, they push envelopes in different ways, and they're satirizing different things. But, like, they live in kind of the same play box. And then, you have Kaguya Love is War is over here doing its own thing. Probably satirizing and making fun of romance anime, which I've never seen. So, but it's good. It's competent. It's well done. It's made with love. And it's only 12 episodes, so I think any fan of Attack on Titan should at least try it. If you haven't tried it, if you are a fan of Attack on Titan and you haven't tried this, you should probably give it a shot. But having said all that, the other one started out okay. And they're doing their own thing. It's completely original, except that it seems like they are satirizing, making fun of the what is it, Shonen or whatever, the evil empire, and we're rebels and we're fighting for a cause, and there's all this historical lore and all this shit that happened before the series starts, and there's all this magic systems and all this complicated shit you got to learn. Naruto and to a lesser extent One Piece, and to a greater extent maybe Bleach, that kind of stuff. These overarching, overly serious combat type series is what they seem to be making fun of. And I think one of the biggest problems I have with this series, there could also be a cultural divide here. I talked about this during my reaction. It's possible. I just don't understand Japanese humor, and I don't understand. Each culture is going to have their own things they think are funny that other cultures won't think are funny. So it's really hard to export comedy. That's why, sitcoms and stuff do get exported to other countries, but they're not as popular as a lot of the other stuff that America exports. The movies and the action series and the sci-fi series and the magic fantasy series and shit like that. Those series do really well in other countries. I found when I was trying to do a series, when I was trying to when I was talking to European distributors and Asian distributors, specifically those are the two groups I was targeting, was Asia and Europe. I would talk to these distributors and ask you, what do you want from America? What kind of low budget, freelance, independent production stories would you be interested in? Because they have to fill time. I don't want to get too involved with this, but there was a channel in France. They were looking for what was it? I think it was 600 hours of programming, original programming, no repeats. They came there to the film market in Los Angeles, and I think it was 2014. I think that was the year I talked to them. In 2014, this French channel, it's one channel. They have God knows how many cable channels, but this one French channel went to Los Angeles to the film market to purchase 600 hours of mostly independent shit. Movies, the more movies the better, or TV series, at least 12 episodes. They wanted 600 hours of content, which would be, they have commercial time, so you're looking at 42 minutes. They have to be 42-minute episodes, or a movie that's about 90 minutes or something like that. They wanted 600 hours of content. They were there. They weren't going to leave till they bought it. They had to buy it. And that was just for one quarter. And there are 4 quarters in a year. These some bitches, man, they were there to buy shit. They needed volume because they're trying to fill the airspace with They were an American programming, English language, American cable channel. It was all low budget shit, right? There was another cable channel, I'm sure, shows reruns of Friends and Seinfeld and Airwolf and Baywatch and whatever the hell, right? All the high budget Hollywood shit was a different channel, but their channel was specifically low budget. Ain't nobody ever heard of this shit. Ain't nobody ever seen any of the actors. Independent film stuff. 600 hours per quarter they're looking for. Just the amount of volume these people needed was just unbelievable. So I would ask them, okay, what genres are you looking for? And they were absolute no with comedy because it's so hit or miss. And that's what they said. The comedy is hit or miss because there's a cultural difference between French people and American people. And I also asked this other distributors. That's the one I remember specifically, the French one, but they talked to people in Europe, other places in Europe and Asia. None of them wanted comedies. They wanted action, science fiction, and fantasy is what they were looking for. If you had any kind of time travel shit, they were really into that stuff. They love, especially Asia. They love American low budget time travel stories, man. Because you ain't got the budget, you got to work on the plot. Your shit has to make total sense, super legit. And they're gonna they would pay for the dub, by the way. That was another great thing about the Asian markets. They were gonna finance the dub. You give them the American version, they got people that are gonna put the dub in there. They get their own actors and all that. You didn't have to worry about none of that shit. But it had to make sense, right? There's one thing they said about time travel. Anyway, point of all that is that, man, you you'd better, if you're trying to do a comedy that's going to sell in Asia or and sell in individual countries in Europe, it can't just be all of Europe because even what French find funny is going to be different than what the Germans find funny. You know, you'd better know the market if you're going to do the comedy. So it's possible I just don't know what Japanese think is funny. Even though at this point, I've watched thousands, literally thousands of hours of anime, I believe. I'm up to 1,119 or something in One Piece. So that's already over 600 hours, just One Piece. Just One Piece. Then you look at all the shows I've done like I've done all of Attack on Titan, Monster, Kaguya, Love is War, God knows all the 7 Deadly Sins I'm doing now, and just all the shit I've done on Patreon, and then the other stuff I've done, Naruto and Boruto and stuff. I've done thousands of hours of anime. I feel like I still only scratched the surface. If we're talking about like what is my degree of knowledge in Japanese culture at this point? If we're just looking at what you can glean from entertainment, which is always sketchy, but what you can glean from entertainment, Japanese culture, I probably have a third grade education in Japanese culture at this point because I just haven't seen enough. I'd need to watch 10,000 hours to probably get up to high school level, right? And I'm not there yet. So anyway, it's possible that Boo 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 would be a hell of a lot funnier if I understood everything that makes Japanese people laugh. But that aside, it is terrible, man. It's bad. It's not funny. And I've talked about this somewhere else. I might as well talk about it here, and may even mention it again when I do the rest of the recording for this podcast, because it's such a truism. It's so interesting that the comedy genre is different than every other genre of filmmaking. Like whether you're talking about westerns, romance, fantasy, science fiction, serious drama, procedural, murder mystery, regular mystery, like whatever other genre you're talking about, they're all one side. Comedy is over here by itself, because here's the thing: if any of these other genres, if it's a mystery, if it's science fiction, if it's fantasy, if it's bad, it's funny. You can laugh at it because it's bad. Any of these other genres. If a comedy is bad, you don't laugh. The problem is you're not laughing, because if the comedy is making you laugh, it's working. So when a comedy is bad and you can't laugh, there's nothing you can do with that. A bad comedy is just a bad movie that you're not enjoying on any level. A bad science fiction or a bad romance or a bad fantasy movie, you can laugh at it, so you're still having fun, even though that's not the way they intended you to have fun. You're still having fun. You can still enjoy the experience. If The Room was a sitcom, nobody would laugh at that shit. But everything I've heard about The Room, it was a serious, earnest movie that failed so terribly it's become one of the most classic bad movies. There's even been movies made about the making of that movie, right? Which I will also never watch. I'm kind of boycotting the whole thing, Tony Wiseau or whatever hell his name is. Anything about him or by him, I'm boycotting. So anyway, point being, a bad comedy is just a bad experience all the way around. There's nothing fun about it. It's the only genre where that's true. So bad comedy, you're just sitting there like, what the hell, man? So I haven't edited my reactions to those 2 episodes yet, but there's going to be some boo-boo the fool stuff I'm cutting out, because I'm just sitting there like, when is this going to be over? It's just bad, man. So when you're bad, you're bad. What are you going to do? So that was my experience with the 2 things, the 2 comedies that were supposed to be bad. If I had all the time in the world, I would watch an episode of all 10 of these things. So, just if you're curious, so you don't have to go look for it yourself, why don't I tell you real quick what the top 10 list was. We had Attack on Titan Junior High is number 10. It gets attention over its lazy reimagining. They're saying it's a lazy reimagining. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. That's just a headline. I don't want to read anything else because I'm actually going to watch more episodes. But I didn't see it that way. Inferno Cop is a low-budget tale of vengeance that mocks its very nature. Well, that's what a comedy is supposed to do, right? That's number 9. Number 8, Dagashi Kashi's gags are secondary to his passion for snacks. The hell does that mean? Lots of anime are built around the idea of educating an audience on an overlooked subject. I've never heard that sentence before. Is that the purpose of anime? I seriously doubt it. I think they're trying to entertain. It's a passionate love letter to Japan's many candy and snack foods. Tell you what, by the way, I would love to try a bunch of like Japanese snacks and candy because I think they've got snacks and candy. They've got that on lock. They know what the hell they're doing, or they take a lot of chances. And if you don't like it, it's like, well, at least they took a chance. I don't know. This isn't a candy reaction channel or a snack reaction channel, or I would do that. But Shimote, this is number 7, thinks that fan service is funny enough to replace jokes. Yeah, that's not going to work for me. That's probably the worst thing on this list. Number 6, Baka and Tess can't rise above its simple stereotypes. Stereotypes are always boring. Number 5, Tomoko's effects to grow in Watamote induce anxiety rather than laughs. I don't even know what the hell that means. That's their headline. Number 4, panty and stocking with garter belt operates like an affront to anime. Well, you just said fan service is bad. Which is it? Make up your goddamn mind. Then number 3 is Lucky Star's low-stakes stories and pop culture-based comedy haven't aged gracefully. This might be worth a look. Could just be it's, slice of life anime that don't have a strong story to fall back on frequently feel aimless to some audiences. Yeah, maybe it is. It could just be just bad. Like it just hasn't aged well. I guess that makes sense. Prison schools encouraging premise doesn't do enough with this comedy. That's number 2. Now, number 1 is nonsense doesn't work for everyone. And boy, is it nonsense. My God, it was very nonsensical. As its ridiculous name might suggest, it's just a much heightened parody of the shonen genre as is an actual shonen series. It's just parody. Though you talk about it's only parody. It's a tribute to nonsense. And anime's extreme non sequiturs are not for everyone. That was my problem, man. It's like it's just a lot of your shit you're just doing like being random isn't funny just because it's random. Family Guy. Another, I'm gonna shoot at them every chance I get. Like, you just being random to just be random isn't funny or interesting. And there was so much just random just to be random just in the very first episode, man. They take chances, which I do like, but not enough their chances hit, man. So, there we are. But, yeah, that's the list. And those are the 2 I picked. The worst and the least. And the only reason I picked 2, I was just going to pick 1 from the list, was since I'm late, why not do 2 reactions to one? This was the bad anime was supposed to be in June, so I'm just now doing it here July 20th. But also the other reason was that I actually recognized I'd heard of Attack on Titan Junior High, and it's something I had wanted to watch at some point. This was a perfect opportunity to find an excuse to do so. All right, so these are my thoughts on that. Let's get back to the rest of the main topic that has nothing to do with those 2 specific episodes I watched. All right, here we go. I am excited. I'm actually recording the main topic first because I'm excited. I really want to talk about this shit. Watched the stuff last night. I reacted to those 2 bad animes last night. Was going to go ahead and get into the podcast, but I drove on all day Saturday. It was 4 hours one way, so I ended up driving like 10 hours. And it really kind of hit me Sunday night. I was just really tired. So I said, hell with it. I'll get up in the morning and do it. And I'm glad I did because, man, I have so much more energy and I'm really excited to get into this and it's just going to be a better experience. So it's always better to wait, right? So anyway, I didn't even want to do the questions and feedback and all that shit. I just want to get straight into the main topic because, man, do I want to talk about this one. It seems funny to think this is the 3rd consecutive time that I threw up some bullshit on the poll and it ended up winning. Like, I never thought, the last 3 topics we've done, I didn't think we were going to win. So I didn't have, like for instance, let me look here. Some of these other options we had. The whole, modern anime blow, old anime. I have thoughts about that. I've been developing that. The dumbest ass powers is what I thought was going to win. And so I have thoughts on that. There are some dumb ass powers. We're going to be talking about one of them here really shortly. Sticky balls. My power is sticky balls. Doesn't help he's perverted. But, even if he wasn't perverted, that's still perverted. Dumbass powers. Maybe it'll win someday. I'm going to keep putting it up there. That's what I thought was going to win. So I didn't think this was going to win, but like, as soon as it did, I was like, yeah, you know, and then I watched the stuff yesterday. They really got me going. I'm glad I did that. We actually have a little bit of feedback on the videos that I did. I posted on Patreon last night, and I've gotten some comments. So let's go there first. I'm not doing this during the regular feedback because this directly relates to the main topic. This comment is from Brianda. Wow, what a blast from the past. I used to watch this a lot back then because it debuted here in English around the same time as Naruto, like, 2005, 2006. It's a fun bout of randomness. Well, matter of fact, let me go ahead and give that a heart right now. They'd already gotten 2 hearts. Yeah, so a lot of people agree with that. And, like, that seems to be the overwhelming sentiment. Like, I haven't seen anybody tell me that they think this sucks. I trashed it. If you've seen my reaction to that, it's over there on Patreon. I trashed. We're talking about, by the way, sorry. Is what we're talking about. The other one, Attack on Titan Junior High, I haven't gotten no comments on. Nobody has an opinion. So, I thought it was trash. I thought it was terrible. Just absolutely effing terrible. But nobody else feels that way. Speaking of, let's go to Old Yellow Eyes. That has got to be my favorite name I've ever seen for somebody on Patreon or any internet name. And I'm assuming it is a supernatural reference. But who the hell knows? Like, it can mean anything, but there's something about it I just really like. Probably because I'm a huge supernatural fan, Wow, I'm surprised someone would list this as the worst comedy anime of all time. It's a pretty legendary series in Japan. That's why it ran so long. Not only are there that many episodes, the comic ran even longer and has multiple video games. I bet the video game's probably pretty fun. Wild and crazy. Kind of the Family Guy video game and the Simpsons games do very well. I don't know why comedy games do well, but here we are. This series ran in Shonen Jump alongside Naruto, One Piece, and other series that you've watched. It's pretty respected among Japanese manga authors because it's such a brutal but loving satire of anime manga, especially battle shonen. I bet the manga is much better than anime. I think the anime is just poorly executed. Now, again, I only watched one episode. And the people that did the list probably only watched one episode. It's possible. Usually I watch 3 episodes before I judge a show. I ain't doing that with this. Maybe it grows on you. Maybe they dial back the randomness. I don't think it's well executed comedy. You can just do random shit. I can sit here and shout, "Poopy!" And maybe you would laugh. But that's not, that's the lowest form of hack comedy, man. That's kind of what I see this as. But maybe the manga and the translation have combined to, in other words, the manga is fantastic, a masterpiece in Japanese, right? Maybe, I don't know. Especially the people that read a lot of manga. And they didn't execute it well, and then maybe also the translation. Although, a lot of what I had a problem with was not the dialogue, it was the visuals. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to shit on what people like. I'm really not. That's not my vibe. I'm not trying to make people feel bad for liking something, or be edgy and I'm a contrarian and I hate things people love. I legitimately thought that nobody was going to like this. I thought they were all going to agree with me, so I wasn't trying to be a contrarian. I thought I was walking the beaten path. Apparently, I'm wrong, or I didn't even say I'm wrong because it is trash, but. Apparently I'm in the minority. I have a minority opinion for once. So, hey, it wasn't intentional. I didn't know this was a beloved thing. When Bobo's author wanted to use the main character from Yu-Gi-On in a joke, he had to ask permission from the creator, who also worked at Jump. And Yu-Gi-Oh's creator loved Bobo so much he demanded to draw the page for Bobo himself. That is great. I love that. That I love. Because, look, it's not satire if it's mean-spirited. If you're honestly pissed off at what you're talking about, that's not satire. That's one of the problems with Saturday Night Live. It feels like a lot of times they're making fun of shit that they actually hate. And that's not good comedy. Even though Stephen King said comedy is anger with this makeup on, I don't think that makes the best comedy. If you're talking about satire, now maybe other forms of comedy, But if you're talking about satire, you have to love it to satirize it properly, I believe. So for instance, the Matt Herman, I think it is, the guy who does Rick and Morty, among other things, he also did Community. He hates heist movies. So when he did a satire of a heist movie, it was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as somebody who would love it, right? Because they could really, they'd be dialed in on the things that make the heist movies work, and could tweak them and twist them so people who love them don't feel hated on. Which he hates those movies. So that satire wasn't as good as like when he satirized Pulp Fiction or My Dinner with Andre or sci-fi shows or Doctor Who. He liked that stuff. So when he satirized that stuff, it just landed better than when he satirized something he hates. You can't satirize something you hate. So I love that this guy is doing a loving bashing of the genre. So much so that you get these artists that want to insist on drawing the page themselves. I love that so much. That's really cool. I guess a lot of the jokes don't translate well, though. Like in this episode, there's wordplay you obviously didn't get because it was in Japanese. Though I know the English dub did their best to rewrite jokes to try to make them work, so this might be a rare case where the dub is better. I think some of the humor in the show later on, though, does translate regardless. This could definitely be something that's just better. Like, they made 76 of them, like I said. So I'm prepared to be wrong. I'm prepared to be that one dude who don't like this shit, and it's, I'm just wrong. Now, it was number one on a list that was made not by me. So I guess I'm not the only person who doesn't like it. And maybe that biased me. Maybe it being number one on a list of the worst anime ever biased me. Like, I'm a human being. I'm subject to bias. I try not to be. I try not to be biased about anything. I try to question my biases when they come up. But nobody's perfect. So it could have, subconsciously influenced me. But, man, you got dudes living in his nose coming out and putting their laundry out and closing doors on his nose, man. That shit ain't funny. No, man, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm open to the possibility of being wrong. It's possible. Especially, later on in the series. Because some of it is just turning a battle shonen manga into a Looney Tunes cartoon where the funniest asshole wins the fight, not the strongest fighter. Hey, man, you know what? Great comment. Old Yellow Eyes. You don't comment very much either. Wish he did more, because it's always he's one of those dudes that's like a sniper, right? Some people are shotgun commenters, and I like them a lot. They comment a lot. They don't always hit their target, but they're going to hit some because they shoot so much. Old Yellow Eyes shoots about once every 6 months, and is dead in the center of the target, because he only shoots once every 6 months, right? His comments are on point, and they are fire. If he commented every day, who knows? It'd probably be a mess, but, Anyway, then there was also a comment when I posted on the community tab on YouTube. This one, from a guy who knows something about comedy. The hell is it? Why are you disappearing, man? My community tab on YouTube, it should be disappearing, man. Comments be disappearing. I saw this shit last night. It even says there's still a comment here now. It ain't showing nothing. The hell is going on here, man? Bet it's on my, I have another thing that, collects all the comments together. Here it is, right here. I'm looking at the comment right here. I bet if I hit refresh, it'll disappear. So I won't hit refresh. This is from last night. Anyway, this is Ruji. And I'm going to, mark this shit up so he knows I saw it. Just in case it does disappear, right? This happened to me last week. There were supposed to be 6 comments and there's only 2, and the other people talking about, hey man, I remember what I said. I didn't say nothing wrong, Anyway, this is Ruju. Someone just experienced the highest form of Japanese insanity there is. Would you believe me if I told you that the manga sold over 7 million copies? The hell did you just say? It still says 7 million copies. It's possible I'm wrong. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. Let me look at these comments real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about some bad anime. What makes comedy anime? What makes them bad? Well, in Boop's case, This whole thing is like being random doesn't automatically mean being funny. That's the problem with Family Guy. Let's just do a random cutaway. It'll be funny because it's random. No, it won't. That's not how that shit works, man. Like, you gotta actually have a point. Like, in the early seasons, the cutaway gags had a thematic relevance to the overall story they were telling in Family Guy. It's if the theme of that particular episode was Meg is feeling isolated and alone and nobody loves her, then maybe the cutaway gag would be sometime Peter felt alone and nobody loved him or something. It wouldn't be obvious, but it'd be there. There'd be something there. You couldn't take that out and put it in some other episode and it'd be as good. In later seasons of Family Guy, you could take any cutaway gag in any episode and put it in any other episode. It wouldn't make any damn difference. It doesn't change anything. So random doesn't necessarily mean funny. It can, but it also doesn't. It doesn't work in rewatch. Gintama does some random shit, but like they elaborate on it, they embellish it. It ends up circling back around. I mean, we got that duck. What the hell is that thing on Gintama? He looks like a duck wearing a sheet. He's big. He's got a duck face, but he don't have no wings or arms or nothing. I can remember. Maybe he has some arms. I can't remember. I need to do some more episodes of that. It'll wash the bitter taste of Bobo out of my mouth. I think I'm going to do some Gintama today after I finish all this podcast shit. But, you got to bring it back around somehow. Like, if you got people coming out of your nose who live in your nose, explain that shit. Something, man. Like, you can do it. Like, you can have, Futurama's a great example. They have the mutants. And the mutants are living underground, and they're all kinds of bizarre shapes, and no two mutants look alike and shit. And, Leela looks like an alien, and they assume she's an alien, when you should have assumed she was a mutant, and which is what she turned out to be. Spoiler alert for a 25-year-old series. But you assume she's an alien because she thinks she's an alien. But it's right there. It's random that she only has one eye. And they've never run across any other aliens that only have one eye. But you know what they do have? They have a bunch of mutants. They have, arms growing out of their foreheads and, tails coming out of their ears or whatever. They all have these bizarre-ass body shapes because they've been, hit with this radiation or whatever, and they mutated. And so each mutant, and no two mutants look the same. And the funny thing is, early in the series, I think 5 or 6 episodes in, they go down to where the mutants are. And there's a crowd shot, and you can see Leela's parents in the crowd, and they both have just one eye. So it's a dead giveaway. They don't reveal that until season 2 or 3, I think. In the audio commentaries, they said, we've got a huge Easter egg, and we'll give you a signal when the Easter egg comes in, when they were doing this episode. And as soon as they showed the crowd shot, they go, ding, 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 ding. So if you've seen enough of the series, you're gonna immediately you'll notice Leela's parents there in the crowd, right? But it's all well set up. Like, it wasn't just some random shit just to be random. It's never gonna be explained. Now they may explain to people in his nose, but it's so off the wall and so bizarre. You kind of got to do that in the first episode, man. Like, there has to be some kind of logic to this shit. Now I'm talking about Western comedy again. Maybe the problem here, and maybe this shuts down this conversation immediately, good or bad, is there's a cultural difference. So I'm not of that culture, so I should shut the hell up. That's entirely possible. I'm open to that possibility. Like, unsarcastically, I'm like being open to the possibility that Bo is a good show, right? Like, I am unironically open to the possibility that I should just shut the hell up and not comment on Japanese comedy because it's a different culture. Like, I don't know the goddamn culture, man. I don't know. But put that out there and consider that. So if I just sound like a moron, just like an ignoramus, then it's because I don't know the culture and I should not even be speaking on this. We'll put that out there. It's stated. Somebody hits me back with that. Fine, I'll take it on the chin. But we're here. I'm here. I've already watched some shit, so I might as well talk, right? So just take that as a grain. I'm just saying, unless there's a cultural divide that I should shut the hell up about, you can't just be random for random's sake. And also, disgusting can be funny because, comedy is surprise, right? Like, you surprise somebody, it'll be funny. But there's a great moment in Family Feud, and one of the best clips is from like 12 years ago, but it's got like 12 million views on YouTube, right? Where the question was, name a word or phrase that starts with the word pork. So like pork belly, pork chop, right? This dude came back with, you pine. And Steve Harvey just looked at him. He said, huh? You pine. That's funny the first time because you got surprised. This dumb sumbitch thinks porcupine is spelled with a K, right? It's a hilarious clip. You should look it up if you've never seen it. It is absolutely hilarious. He talked about it in his comedy routine. Same year, he did some stand-up comedy, and he said they were the dumbest effing family he's ever had on the show. It wasn't just that one answer. But, so that's random. But it's funny because it's random and you're not expecting it and you can get a really good laugh out of it. But you can't use that joke 7 times in one episode. And they did the nose hair thing, and they will continue to be doing the nose hair thing constantly. Nose hairs are nasty, man. Like, the comedy of that will wear off in 1 or 2 episodes. Then you're just left with these nasty-ass nose hairs coming out of this dude's nose. And Japanese think noses are funny anyway. Picking their nose and boogers and, apparently nose hairs and shit. There's nothing inherently funny about, at least I get the ass humor. Again, I think the lowest common denominator humor, the shit that, 10-year-olds find funny, farting and, shitting yourself. Now, I make a lot of shitting yourself jokes, so I'm a child too. Like, I'm not saying I'm above the hack humor, because I'm not. But I try to achieve a certain little bit higher level of comedy when I can. Here and there. I am off the cuff. None of my shit's scripted. So I'm off the cuff. So sometimes, if I can't think of anything else to say, I'll talk about somebody's shit in their pants, because, I guess I'm still 12. But, that's a 12-year-old sense of humor. Farting and, picking your nose and, nose hairs and all that shit is just really immature, lowbrow, lowest common denominator comedy. And disgusting can be funny as a surprise thing, but, it gets old really fast, right? So I just don't think the nose hair thing is going to be funny for very long. So I think they rely on randomness and let's just do the most outrageous random shit ever. See, here's the thing. They talk about this show just the same way people were talking about Gintama when I started Gintama. Oh my God, this is the craziest show Japan's ever done, man. Oh, the random lunacy. But their randomness has a design to it. Their randomness comes back around. Their randomness typically gets explained in some kind of at least minimal way. They don't just show an alien with an ass for a face. And I don't know, man. I can't even think of the random shit. They do random shit, but it just feels like it has a design. It has an intention. There's an explanation behind it. And this is just random to be random. And they're also just making fun of, it's also a satire. Gintama is satirizing the genre, but it's satirizing the genre in a secondary way. The primary purpose of Gintama is, the primary goal, the primary engine that drives the story is the 3 characters and their character humor. Apparently she's a little girl. I found this out recently. She's only 14. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. The boy's only 16. And then Gintama himself is 26 or some shit. But she was not coded like a 14-year-old. So, she's coded like a 18, 19-year-old psycho. So that was a little weird. So when they started calling her kid, that's when I was like, what the hell are they talking about? Anyway, though, she's a psycho. She'll see the world the way the rest of the people do. Plus, she's a very selfish, id-controlled character. Her needs are all that matter, and she's going to satisfy those needs first. Right? So she's going to eat the hell out of a restaurant. Just eat them out of house and home. Everything in sight. And she wants this big-ass, stupid big-ass dog. Loves that subject even though he tries to eat her. and he's just, the dog's out of control, and he's eating him out of house and home, and he's just all over the place, and he's biting everybody, and just a real pain in the head and pain in the ass. But she don't care because she likes it and she wants it. She don't care about anybody else. That's the comedy. And then the boy is just a straight man. He's the one person that calls out the lunacy of everything else that's going on. And then he gets really frustrated with the other two. And then Gintama is a delusional, lazy failure. Then the comedy springs from all that shit. And then while they're going around their day and she's eating everything, the dog's biting people's heads and the straight man's frustrated and Gintama's being a lazy loser. He's also like an opportunist, right? He's always going to try to scam a little money if he can. While they're doing all this, they will every now and then throw a jab at like the genre conventions and the genre that they're making fun of. But it's not the primary, it's not the story that drives the engine of this. It's not the engine that drives the story, right? The satirizing a genre isn't the purpose of the story. It's just a side effect. It's like, I want to tell this funny story. While I'm at it, here, then we should take this left jab here. Yeah, action, teenage boy, genre of anime. Take this right up the gut. But that ain't why we're here. We're really here. We're going to eat all your food and bite your head off. But, every now and then you're going to get that jab in the gut. That's what they do. That's how you do it. That's why it's the funniest anime I've ever seen in my life. Because they're not obsessed with just genre making fun of. They're obsessed with just the character comedy. And the comedy starts and ends with the characters. Make you love the characters, make you get to know the characters, and then anything the characters do is going to be funny. Because they're ridiculous. Like, they're just naturally funny people. Usopp can be funny. Sanji can be funny in One Piece. Luffy can be funny. There ain't many of the characters that can. I don't think Robin's ever really used for like comedy relief. Typically not Zoro. They've really dialed back on the whole being lost thing. Can't follow directions. Crap. He's got a little more serious. But Chopper is another good comedy character. They're funny because we know them. And so we know how they see things and how they react to things and, that kind of stuff. How they interface with the world and with other people. We just inherently, instinctively know that shit. So then when they get in these situations, we can anticipate what they're going to do because we know them. We can anticipate, like, if there's a big scary monster down in the basement and they need to send somebody down there to get some chips and they send Usopp, you're already laughing before he touches the door because he's a scaredy cat. So if there's somebody not following doctor directions and Chopper's about to walk into the room, you're already laughing because you know how he's going to react. He's going to be pissed off. So the people start complimenting Chopper, you're already laughing, you know how he's going to react. So that when you can anticipate that something is going to be funny about a character because they're about to walk into a situation, that's the perfect blend of character comedy. That's when you get it right. That's how you get it right. It's inside out. The characters are right here in the center of what we're doing. You start there and you work your way out. The characters are funny. Okay, good. They're funny. If you can lock that in, the characters are funny. You just have to get them in the right situations where they will be funny. One of the funniest things One Piece ever did was Zoro and Sanji were knocked out. So they got sponge baths by really pretty women. Sanji wakes up and he hears that Zoro got a sponge bath with these pretty women. And before they cut to Sanji, I was already laughing. And he was pissed. Because he don't like Zoro, and he loves women, and he loves these sexy opportunities. And the fact that Zoro got something, even though he got it too, it doesn't matter. He's still mad, right? Like, I was already laughing before they cut over. That's when you got the character comedy unlock. Okay, character comedy unlock. The next level out of that is situational comedy. The situations that are funny. The hair thing is a good comedic premise. It's a good situation that's funny. It's a good, like, these aliens, they don't want to kill you because that's kind of dark and it wouldn't be as comedic. They just want to shave your head. And some people want their hair, right? So, there's a lot you can do with that. That's a great comedic setup. It's a great comedic premise. So the situation, they got locked in. They got a very funny situation, overall situation, and then you have episodic situation you put people in. But the overall setup is hilarious. They did that good. They got that locked in. And then the next layer out will be satirizing the genre that you're doing, right? Kaguya Love is War, however that's pronounced, satirizing romance. Now, I haven't seen any romance anime, so I didn't get that level. I didn't get that layer of comedy. But it was funny anyway, even if I had never seen another romance. It was funny anyway, even if I had never seen another romance, which I hadn't. It was already still funny. So that's when you know you're getting something right. This Boobababoo got that pretty good, as far as I know, of what I've seen from one episode. They got that locked in. So then, after that, you can have a layer of, let's just pull some random bullshit, Like, I think it'd be funny if they're stuck in a time loop, or, there's people living in his nose, or whatever the hell. Any other random shit you want to put in there should be your fourth priority. First priority, get the characters right. Second priority, get the overall situation right, and then get the episode by episode situations right. Third priority, if you are, which is what Gintama and Boo Boo are, get the satire right. Then you can throw the random shit in there. That's number 4. That should be your fourth priority. Get the other shit right first. My biggest problem with the show, I don't think that they got the characters right. I think we need to care about these people first. Or it's just Looney Tunes. And if you just want to be Looney Tunes, that's fine. But we're grown-ass adults, man. Looney Tunes are for kids, man. Like, that's why it's for kids. We never learned Bugs Bunny's personality. We never fell in love with Bugs Bunny other than the fact he's a savage. You best respect him. Because he will put on a dress and put on some lipstick and kiss the hell out of you. And then he will ruin your whole life and your career. He will put a pox on your we're talking about generational trauma, what he'll do to you. You best respect him. But you don't know him. We don't know jack shit about Bugs Bunny. We don't know shit about Elmer Fudd or Daffy Duck or any of these people, man. Foghorn Leghorn, the Roadrunner. That dude can mail order. Who was going after the Roadrunner? What was that? Wile E. Coyote? He can mail order shit, man. Mail order some DoorDash, man. Why the hell you keep chasing? I know it's about the chase. It's not about the food. Just get some goddamn DoorDash, you moron. We don't know anything about these people, man. So, as adults, you can watch them. Yeah, I guess that's pretty good. But you're not invested. You're not honed in, man, because you don't know the character. You're not going to get any character comedy out of that shit. They could get some character comedy. You watch enough Looney Tunes. But a lot of it is so repetitious, too, that it's doing the same shit, right? But, I'm hunting rabbits, hunting season or whatever. It's rabbit season, it's duck season, whatever the hell that was. You can anticipate, like, say Bugs is just walking there, minding his own business, got an ice cream cone, and some asshole is on his Bluetooth, come walking by and shoulder checks Bugs and knocks the ice cream on the sidewalk. Character comedy-wise, they've done enough character work just because of how many cartoons are out there and cultural osmosis that that dude done messed up. Bugs Bunny's ice cream is on the ground. He spent money on this shit. He was going to enjoy that ice cream cone. It's on the ground. Your life is over, buddy. He's going to end your career, your life, your will to live. If you got a family, you might as well say goodbye to them. He will ruin you, man. And we know that, so we're already laughing. The second that shoulder check knocks that ice cream on the pavement, boy, I'm locked in then. I'm honed in then. I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to see how this despair and doom and woe is going to transpire, right? So they got a little comedy, a little character work going on there. So I just think, yes, you got to be crazy. Yes, you got to establish the tone of the series in the first episode. But the first time we meet the girl, she's already being attacked. I think she's like hiding, and then they round on her, and like literally 30 seconds after we first saw her on screen, she's in danger. Another 30 seconds, he's saving her ass. We don't know jack shit about her, man. Nothing. Why would we care about her? We don't know what she likes, what she dislikes, what she's allergic to. Maybe she has a nose hair or just in general nose phobia or something. Like, maybe they'll explore all that. They do have another 75 episodes, but we don't know shit about her. And that's one of the fatal flaws of the pilot. Is they didn't do any character work whatsoever. They're not here for that. And, if you're going to have a comedy set and test time, here's the thing. I ain't never heard of this show. People talking about it's so great and, sells so much. I don't think it exported well. Because I've heard of One Piece, I've heard of Naruto, I'd heard of Bleach, I heard of JoJo. I didn't know what the hell it had to do with rabbits, but I had heard of JoJo. I had definitely heard of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I just thought that the movie was a adaptation of the anime or whatever, right? Apparently they have nothing to do with each other. But still ought to be sued, though. You had all the names you could have picked, and you chose JoJo. You're trying to glom onto that, man. You wanted people to be confused. Sue their asses. I had heard of these other shows, and you know why? Because they've done compelling character work on those shows. Now, I hadn't heard of Gintama, so to be fair, I had never heard of Gintama. It's hilarious. I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of Boo, and it's not hilarious. So I guess we can't knock it too much for me not having heard of it. But I'm just saying that it didn't have the compelling character work, and I think you should start there. Start with the characters. They did in Gintama. We got a good grasp of who at least the two guys were in the first episode. Now, I don't think we really... it took me a couple episodes to really feel out and figure out the girl, right? But you had the strong character work with the two guys, and there were some good gags, and there was enough going on that, okay, I'm on for the ride to learn about these people. They had a good balance there. The very first episode, with Gintama, think about this. He attacks those cat aliens, right? We've never seen him do anything else like that. Now, wasn't he saving the boy? He did to save the boy. But we haven't seen him, be out somewhere. He wasn't being paid to do this. We haven't seen him be out somewhere and save anybody else. Just for no reason. If he's on the clock, if he's being paid, he'll do it. But, that I can think of. So, that was a little out of character for him. But it kind of established him. There's more to this dude than meets the eye. If we hadn't had that scene, and then we got the rest of what we got from him, I'd pretty much not like him. He's some selfish, opportunistic, lazy asshole, right? But he went out of his way to save somebody. There was no immediate benefit for him. So, that's kind of endearing. It kind of endears us to the character. So yeah, I just think that the good animes, they start inside. The good comedy animes. Great Teacher Asinka, another great example of that. That one took me an episode or two to warm up to. That was one, they had some great gags in the first episode. My God, there is a scene, it's one of the most iconic comedic scenes I've ever seen in my life in any genre, any medium. He's sitting there, he's thinking he's about to get down, he's about to smash, right? He's in his apartment, he's brought a woman back to his apartment, and she's got her back to him, and she's in the kitchen, making a little something for them to eat. But I believe they're at his place. And you can see the kitchen door, and outside the kitchen door is the living room, and he's in the living room, right? And so he's laid out the smash pad, like a little bedroll on the floor. He lit some candles. He's got some a spanking paddle or something like that, and some oils and some lubrication and all this sex toys and stuff. And he's dressing up in a furry costume. He is ready to go, man. He's ready to get up in them guts. He's ready to smash. And then she mentions that she's underage. And I have never seen anybody get rid of a bunch of shit in my life as fast as that sumbitch did. The second he found out she was underage, he tore off his furry costume, got rid of the candles, got rid of the lubrication and the sex toys, got that bedroll the hell out of there. And by the time she turned around, he was just sitting there chilling. Man, that shit was funny. I was dying. I was on the floor for 10 minutes, man. I couldn't stand it. I was dying. I had to stop the reaction. I'm pretty sure I did. It's just, it was the first episode, man. That was some funny shit. But to warm it, I couldn't get past, this is my own bias, him being a teacher, as bad of a teacher he is in the way he wanted to smash all the students. He definitely wanted to smash students. He wanted to look at the underage students. Because if he wanted to smash, he wouldn't have gotten rid of all that shit. He ain't actually trying penetration with underage girls. Okay, but he was freaky, wanting to see them and shit, and wanting to see their underwear and all this crap. It wasn't great for him being a teacher. So it took me a while to get past that, to realize he wasn't going to actually do anything, and this is just Japanese comedy. Another thing they think is they think sexual harassment is hilarious. They think perving on underage girls is hilarious. And apparently there's like a massive problem in subways over there because they're so crowded of men grabbing women in subways, fondling them, and just grabbing asses and whatever else, and just a massive problem. Like every woman should be having her back to the wall, right? But even then, they may be facing you and doing the shit. That's just a huge problem. So it's just a thing. Like there's just a cultural divide between Western culture and Japanese culture when it comes to that, what they think is funny. And they just think that shit's funny, and we don't necessarily think that over here. And plus, a lot of shit's really old, before Me Too and all that stuff. So that was another pilot, though, Great Teacher Asuka. That it actually took me a while to warm up to the characters, but the setup, the premise was pretty good, and it had some great gags. So, going by my model, they didn't have the best character work in the first episode. Like, they didn't nail the character work where I love this character and I want... And you don't have to... They don't have to be a lovable saint. You can be a complete asshole and I'll love you. I loved Walter White from the jump, right? You have to love something about the character that makes you want to watch. It doesn't mean you think they're a good person. There just has to be some hook that ropes you into the character. They didn't really have that. So they hadn't nailed the character work. And they hadn't nailed the situation because, you've got a guy who wants to look at women being a teacher when he's not qualified for it. I wasn't vibing with that. It is a good comedic premise, big picture, looking back. It is, but like to me, watching the first episode, I didn't feel like they had nailed that. They weren't satirizing anything, but they had some great situations in the episode. The setup, the overall in-universe setup wasn't great, but the situations he found himself in that first episode, because there was also the shit with the vice principal in the car. I think that was as early as the first episode, or whatever. The dynamic between him and the vice principal is hilarious. So they had the individual episodic situations he was in that first episode were chef's kiss perfect. And that's what roped me into the series. That and the fact I was being paid to watch it, but still. If I had gotten 4 or 5 episodes deep and just hated it, I would have quit. Yeah. So you don't have to nail everything in the first episode. Gentama didn't even nail everything in the first episode because they didn't have the characterization for the girl, I don't think, in the first episode. But they had a great comedic setup. You can see there's a lot of comedic opportunities in the way the world universe is set up. The satire was there. And then there's some great situations in that first episode. So that's what you look for. You got to inside out. Build the comedic series from the inside out. The good shows do it, or at least partially do it. They nail some of it. The bad shows just abjectly fail. Typically, they fail in the very first level, which is the character work. Complete and total failure. You do that, the show's going to be struggling to watch. So I think that's the divide between good comedic anime and bad comedic anime. We're going to take a break, and then I'm actually going to talk about specific comedic characters. Let's just get this one out the way. I'm going to talk about some comedy relief characters. Let's start with this sumbitch. This diaper-wearing Me Too poster child. Half-pint, full harassment lawsuit waiting to happen ass. HR disaster. Probably going to get clubbed in the women's bathroom by a plunger. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else. I guess you could use the toilet lid, right? But in public bathrooms, they don't really have. Let's not get derailed. F this dude, is what I'm trying to say. Sticky ball, stupid power having. Dumbest power I've ever seen. We're going to be talking about that in a future podcast. Unfunny, no comedy relief, peeping Tom, bitch ass incel. I had one more. I kind of did a monologue in my head. I had one more. What was it? I think I was going to circle back around on the diaper, but you get the idea. What am I saying? He's the fucking worst. That's what I'm saying. Fuck this dude, man. He is straight trash. He is the effing worst. I got to the point, Like, I run a reaction channel, man. My job is to react to what's on screen, whatever the hell is on screen. It got to the point they would throw his ass up in that episode and he would hit the screen, right? And I know I'm cutting it out. Whatever the F is going to come out of his mouth, I'm cutting that shit out. I got to the point, like, once we got to about season 3 of My Hero Academia, you can go back and look at the videotape. You stop seeing his scenes. Because I knew I was cutting it out. Like, I couldn't take it anymore, man. I just couldn't watch that shit. He was never funny. And look, I understand that we've got a situation here where it's like the Japanese think sexual harassment's funny. They think this shit's funny. Clearly the author thinks it's funny, and this is coming from the manga, you know. He doesn't have a single effing redeeming quality. Not one. He's got stupid power. He looks stupid. He's wearing an effing diaper. His voice is annoying. Guess I haven't heard his English voice, but his Japanese voice is annoying. Look at this shitty ass look on his face, man. Look at that. That's a punchable face, no matter which character that is. You have never seen My Hero Academia, and you look at that face, and you know this dude ain't shit. Straight trash. Like, it's just... probably the worst scene they ever did was the girls were in the spa. You had a girl's hot tub and a boy's hot tub. And the girls are in their hot tub and the boys are in their hot tub. And so he knows if he can just climb this wall between these two hot tubs, he can peek over the side of the wall and see all the girls in the hot tub. I guess in Japan they go in the hot tub nude. And he's got the entire boys' class telling him to get his little bitch ass, punk ass back down here. Because what he's doing is a clear violation to people that are supposed to be your friends, or at least supposed to be your peers. Nobody is his friend. Nobody is this son bitch's friend. But they're at least his peers. You at least have to have a modicum of respect for your peers. This isn't like this was the enemy. Like a vampire blood-sucking girl. Not that he should be able to be peeping at her either. But still, man, like, you know, these are his peers. He got the entire boys' class telling him, get his little bitch ass back down here. And he's climbing that wall and he's like, no, I don't care what anybody says, I won't be denied. Like, he don't care what anybody says. And he's like sweating. And he had this really shitty, perverted look on his face. And he was talking about, I won't be denied. Nothing is going to stop me from getting to the top of this wall and looking. And that is just a level of unhinged derangement. Like, that's beyond perversion. That's like psychotic. Like, I might could dig, you're walking along the side of a wall, you know, you're on the sidewalk, and you know that there's like hot springs in the, you know, in this building, and you're walking along outside on the sidewalk. And all of a sudden you see a hole. I think probably most of us are going to at least look in the hole. Like, I would look in the hole. If I see an ass, I'm going to look away. Look, I'm not saying I'm the most moral person in the world. I wouldn't want it done to me, so I ain't going to do it to somebody else. That's really my thing. My whole philosophy of life is, if I don't want it done to me, I ain't going to do it to nobody else. You know, I mean, that's just, you know, I feel like you should have some kind of base level shit, you know? Like, if I wouldn't give a shit, like, nobody wants to look at my fat, ugly ass. Believe me, man. You lose more than your lunch, you know? So, I'm not too worried about people peeping on me. But I'm a pretty private person. Like, I don't necessarily, you know, want people seeing just how bad I look without clothes on, you know? Like, keep it a mystery. So, I don't necessarily want people peeping on me. So, I'm not going to do it to anybody else, man. And so, it's not even like I'm not saying I'm on a high horse or some high moral ground. I just think that should be the base level at which you approach life. If I didn't give a shit, maybe I wouldn't give a shit about people. But, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, I would look. I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't look. Because it's right there. You're walking along. You know what's over there. You're going to at least look in there. Because there was a Mexican restaurant I went to one time. And they had a hole between the men's and the women's bathrooms, right? I looked, and all you could see was the sinks, right? Like, it was where the hole was right next to the men's sinks, and you look through the hole and you can see the women's sinks. I guess that's why they weren't too worried about filling up the hole, right? I just wanted to see. Like, if you could see ass, I need to go out there and tell the manager, hey, I just saw an ass. You might want to do something. So, but I could see a pervert coming across this hole in the wall and being transfixed by it and just sticking his perverted eyeball in that and just camping out. I can see that. So, I mean, like that, I think that's like normal level perversion. An opportunity presents itself. A woman drops her pen in front of you and she bends over. Normal dudes, like, well, probably normal dudes also look, but like older dudes who have daughters and maybe or whatever just have empathy. You don't need to have a daughter to have empathy. Who have empathy and aren't complete trash are going to kind of go like this, right? I would do that simply because I employ a lot of women and there are other people in the vicinity and they're going to see me, and then nobody wants to work with me anymore. So even if you are a pervert, you should still treat the people with respect just so people want to work with your ass. Like, they're from a pragmatic point of view, you should treat people with respect. Even if you're a complete, total piece of shit who has no respect for anybody else in the world, you should still look away when they bend over for that pen because you got all these other people going to see what you're doing. They're checking you out. They're watching you. They ain't watching her. What's this son bitch about to do? Where's his eyes going, right? This is the test. This is the morality test. Whether or not I quit this job, walk off this set right now, right? I mean, it never happened, but I can see the scenario. Like, there should be a pragmatic aspect to the shit, even if you are complete garbage. And that right there determines whether you're a normal pervert or you're completely unhinged and psychotic. Like, if you can't control yourself, even for pragmatic reasons, they need to lock your ass up or you need medication or some shit. You're psychotic. And this son bitch has the entire school, the entire male population of school watching him climb this wall to look at these girls. And he's like, I won't be denied. Nothing you say is going to stop me. I won't be denied. Man, it's just the worst. That was the moment I went from not liking him to actively hating him. Like, that was unhinged. Like, I don't like the dude on Seven Deadly Sins be grabbing asses and tits. It's just the one woman, and she's into it, but still, I don't like him. I don't hate him. I hate this sumbitch. Actively hate him. And from that point on, I cut any scene he had dialogue. Like, you might, from my reactions from that point on to the end of the current season, end of season 7, we got one more season to go, you'll be hard-pressed to find his image on the screen unless he's in a group shot. You will be hard-pressed. Maybe one or two times I left his solo, headshot, solo shot, close-up in there. If he was having some plot-relevant conversations, he typically wasn't. He almost never plot-relevant. If he's having something plot-relevant happen. Other than that, man, his ass got cut on the cutting room floor. That's how much I hated that sumbitch. Again, not high moral ground. We're just saying, like, leave it out. These are all fictional characters. Nobody's being harassed in this show. Now, you could set up thought patterns and thought types and, systemic oppression and whatever the hell just because people are watching this shit at an impressionable age. So maybe it's doing some harm regardless. I don't speak brain surgeon or sociologist. I don't speak sociologist, so who the hell? What the hell do I know? But it's possible. I've always said, by the way, I don't write my shit for fear that people will watch it and be impressed by it, because I don't really believe that. But then people much richer than me spend millions of dollars on advertising, and they wouldn't do that if they didn't think it worked. You're going to spend $10 million on a 30-second Super Bowl commercial because you have proof that works. That drives sales. Somehow. It's driving traffic to where you want it to go, or it's driving sales. Or you wouldn't spend, you're rich. These people are rich. They would not spend $10 million on 30 seconds of advertising if they didn't think advertising works. So if advertising works, then entertainment works. What people see in entertainment will affect what they do. I don't think it does, but I'm swayed by the fact that very rich people who made all that money but not making stupid business decisions do think that what we see and hear impresses upon us to do things. So the jury's out as far as I'm concerned, but it seems like it does. So these could be harmful messages this some bitch is presenting, and I don't think so though, because he's so reprehensible, so repulsive. I mean, they even made him look repulsive, and he's wearing a goddamn diaper. So I don't think anybody's like, ooh, I want to be like that guy, right? So that's why I don't think it's probably not really affecting what people think, right? But that aside, these are just fictional characters. No woman is being harassed because there's no actual real women in this story, right? Like, you know, to break the fourth wall. I don't like breaking the fourth wall. I like to stay immersed. I like to always constantly talk and treat these characters like they're real people. But they're not. In this conversation, we can say, okay, let's put aside how reprehensible and awful he is if he was a real person. Just the effing worst. Put that aside. He's not funny, man. It's not funny. So he's in a scene, and we're doing some shit, and we're progressing the plot, and like, you know, Midoriya. It's been a while since I've watched this. I guess Midoriya is missing, and the rest of us think we should probably get together and look for him because he's out there living by himself and not taking showers and shit, trying to be Batman. So we should probably go out in the city and try to find him. Titties. Man, this is a serious ass scene, man. Like, this is a character building, serious ass scene in the middle of a story arc where our main character protagonist is gone and he ain't taking showers, man. He's out there, like, trying to sew his shit back together, smelling like old seafood and looking like shit. And his shit's probably infected from where he's been injured. He's out there, like, trying to save people and stuff, and, you know, he's got no resources. He's sleeping in a dumpster or something, right? So we need to get out there and get him. And they're going to derail all of that emotional shit that they're carrying so he can make a titty joke or something, or he can talk about how sexy somebody is. And then a lot of times to get to be fair to the show, they often show that his classmates hitting him or punishing him in some way. You know, so what? Thank God they have agency where they do that shit, but, like, you know, that don't make it funny. I have laughed a couple times. There's a couple times they get a good gag in or two, right? There was one of the times they punished him that was funny. But it's not worth it overall. You're dragging down every scene he's in. Because you're not thinking about Midoriya and what he's going through, or the fact that Gravity Girl hasn't had any characterization since season 2. You're not thinking about any of this shit that you should be thinking about. You know what you're thinking about? Damn, I hate this sumbitch. Damn, I wish he'd get off the screen. It just derails any scene he's in, man. It's not funny. You know, some of these authors take feedback. Captain Crunch and Law in One Piece, there was like 6 of these dudes. Captain Crunch and Law got the forefront because fans liked them the most. The author heard the feedback. These are the 2 people the fans like the most. Let me give them more screen time and give less screen time to these other assholes. So either nobody gave this subject feedback or he don't give a shit. Because, man, that character just sticks around. We've had a student or 2 die, right? Why can't it be this sumbitch? Man, I want him to. That would save the series if they kill him off. But it'd be too late. They should have killed him off in season 4. So he's the worst. Like, he has no redeeming qualities. He derails everything he's in. He's not funny, and it's the worst possible messaging you could possibly have. He looks like shit. He was wearing an effing diaper. His power is absolutely stupid. There ain't a single thing he does right as a character or a single good thing about him. No redeeming qualities whatsoever. The worst comedy relief character in anime history. Hands down. Now, let's move up a notch. Thank effing Christ. Middle of the road. A mediocre. And mediocre, as the kids are using mediocre as a pejorative. It just means middle of the road. You're in the middle. Half the people are worse than you, half the people are better than you. You're in the middle. It doesn't mean you're shit. It doesn't mean you're trash. It means you're in the middle. I don't know how that's become a pejorative. Like, most of us are average. So, but anyway, Hawk from Seven Deadly Sins. This average son of a bitch. This, he's become more interesting because now it's come to find out we've got the devil looking through his eyes and shit. That's always been there. So that's interesting. I like that they've done that. And they've made his character have some impact on the plot. I think comic relief characters should have an impact on the plot. It shouldn't be like you take them out and nothing changes in the entire story. Like Purple Boy. This character has done a couple things. This character actually died and came back to life, and now we know why it came back to life, right? Because he's possessed. But he has done a couple things. Mostly he's annoying. Like when it comes to the comedy relief, he's annoying. He's a minister of scraps. He's a talking pig, so he's a minister of scraps, and he thinks he's tough. He's got that scrappy do thing, man, where you can't bust a grape, you can't fight anybody, you can't do jack shit. You ain't doing nothing against any of these people here. We got gods and demons picking up mountains and throwing them at people, sending blasts of energy and having like magical shit where it's like, my magical power is if you tell a lie in my presence, you turn to stone or whatever, Like, that's some heavy duty powers, man. This son of a bitch is a pig. He don't even have opposable thumbs. He's a pig. A minimal size, mediocre sized pig, too. We ain't even talking about one of those big feral hogs, man. He's just a damn pig. He ain't doing shit. He ain't fighting nothing. He ain't talking all this shit. Oh, yeah, I'm the biggest, bad. I'm tough. Oh, I'm awesome. I'm tough as hell. You can't bust a damn grape, man. So that shit gets... I hate characters that talk outside their price range, Like, you can't you can't cash the checks that your mouth is writing, man. You can't do it, so shut the hell up. Let the grown-ups have the conversation, man. So that part gets annoying. Those every now and then it'll make me laugh. I don't hate him. You know who I hate. I don't hate him. Every now and then it'll make me laugh. But not very often. And it's just... the comedy is typically try hard. But probably where he does make me laugh will be the shit where it's like people are insulting him or something. Hey, man. Or, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of an example off the top of my head. But he's all right. Like, look, he's not offensive in any way. Like, if he was your friend, you'd be great. You'd have a lot of fun with him. But he again has that thing where he's kind of derailing shit. Now, sometimes he's used as an exposition device because he's obsessed with power levels, so then we get to find out how awesome some of these people we're encountering are via him, right? So, like I said, he adds to the plot. Like, his pros are he adds to the plot. The story couldn't work without him. He's got to be there for the story to work. The cons are most of his jokes land flat. He ain't funny. He can't fight, so he needs to shut the hell up. So, it averages out. Mediocre. Middle of the road. So, you got Diaper Dandy at the bottom. You got Hawk in the middle. Who do you think's at the top? I'll give you a second. You'll never guess it. You will never guess it. I'm not doing this to be dramatic. I'm not doing this to shock people. I shocked myself when I sat down and thought about this a couple days ago. I wanted an example. The worst possible example of comedy relief. A mediocre example of comedy relief. And the best possible example of comedy relief. Buggy. I know. I know. Trust me, I know. Had to wash the taste out of my mouth. He's my favorite comedy relief character. I hate that son of a bitch. God, I hate him. In a very different way than I hate Diaper Boy. He's somebody you love to hate. I would be sad if he died. I'd love to hate him. Like, he comes on screen. He's like Coward Cosell, man. I can't stop watching him. Like, I'm riveted. I just did a You're a Clown dance routine in a short with him. Spent hours trying to find the right song and match it up with the right images. I spent a lot of time on a damn short, man. I don't even think it did very well. Let me go look. I think it did shit. I ate shit on that one. Usually my One Piece videos do very well. The shorts. The most recent shorts did like 2,000 and 1,000. The You're a Clown only did 650. Yeah, I ate shit on that one. But hey, man, I enjoyed it, man. Like, I love to hate this sumbitch, but he's funny in a very character-centric way. He's funny because we know his character. We know who he is intimately. Get your mind out of the gutter. You know what I mean when I say intimately. We know him intimately. We've been following him from Jump. He's the Yang to Luffy and Blackbeard's Yin. Like, he is failing upwards guy. He better never become king of the pirates. Not even for 1 second. Well, I'm gonna. People may crown him king of the pirates because they're idiots, but I'm not excited. I'm talking about truly king of the pirates, the real king of the pirates. That better never happen, man. I don't even want to contemplate it. But he is funny in a very character-centric way, and it works. Like, none of his comedy relief fails to land. Like, when he's sitting there, like, probably my favorite part was, I think it was before he became one of the emperors. He was a warlord, and he was having these internal monologues about, I think the hell was it? There was somewhere, there was some fighting happening. It wasn't Marineford, was it? It may have been Marineford. I can't remember. But they were fighting, and people were on his side, and he was having this internal monologue like, I need to slink away from here and bitch out. And people were like, oh, yeah, Buggy, yeah. And he just, like, the difference between his internal monologue and what was happening outside of it, I was dying. Like, it was funny as hell, man. And the moment they announced he's a warlord, by the way, is probably my worst moment as a reactor. Like, my brain was just slammed straight into park, and the transmission burned up. Like, I had to replace the transmission in my brain before I could continue the reaction. And somebody mentioned the fact that they were surprised I didn't react when he became an emperor. Well, by then I'd come to expect, I didn't really think about it. But if I had thought about it, I would have predicted he would become an emperor simply because, like, he's failing upwards. Now that we understand the trend that he's failing upwards, now it's not shocking. So now I'm open for it. Like, if he does become king of the pirates, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be repulsed. I'd want to throw up projectilely, but I wouldn't be shocked because that's his theme, right? Like, thematically, he represents people that fail upwards and constantly failing upwards, being used by other people. Just from the outside looking in, it looks like he's just this awesome pirate, right? And it's all this shit. This whole thing is a commentary about, like, PR, public relations. This whole series, One Piece, is commenting on celebrity culture. And that's not the only thing it's doing, but one of the things it is doing is commenting on celebrity culture, about how, the wanted posters and the berries and all this stuff is about how people ascend to these heights they don't deserve and are uplifted by a bunch of cackling parrot morons who don't know what the hell they're looking at and don't know what the hell they're talking about. So we get people like Will Ferrell, considered one of the greatest comedic actors in cinematic history. It took 4 or 5 bombs, nuclear bombs, at the box office for people to realize he ain't funny. He sucks. And there's some of these actors can't bust a grape, and they're considered A-list actors. They're lazy. They phone in their performances. Maybe they give one good performance when they're young and hungry, and then the rest of the time they go batshit crazy. Phone it in, man. Angelina Jolie. God, man, have you seen, like, her filmography in the past 10, 15 years? My God, man. Is she even awake for some of this shit? Like, it's just, this is what the show is doing. It's commenting on celebrity culture, and people get to heights they don't deserve when you got way more talented people grinding it out in the trenches will never get up there for whatever reason. Like, you're in the right place at the right time, you get ascension, Jennifer Lawrence, decent actress. Probably better than decent. But she struck gold at the right time. And she grinds too. Like, she was one of these people grinding trenches, because we're talking about she failed her audition for Hunger Games in New York City, heard from them while she was in the room. They're doing another round of auditions, just like this one, open call. Anybody can come in and audition. In L.A. tomorrow. She heard that before she left. Said, I can do better. Went home, packed one bag, didn't take a shower, had been like running around New York City all day, stinking like up to high heaven. Hadn't taken a shower, runs to the airport, gets a flight. God knows how much money she spent on a intercontinental, whatever we call it, coast to coast, a coast to coast flight with no notice. God knows she paid bust out retail for those airline tickets. Gets to LA. Lands in LA a couple hours before the audition starts. Signs up. Or she probably had her manager sign up, right? Gets a room somewhere. Throws some water on her face real quick. Maybe runs through the shower really quick. Maybe. I think she said she didn't have time to shower. That's like how fast all this shit happened. That sticks in my mind because it's like actors are so obsessed with hygiene in auditions. Like, man, they're like, if they can't, like, you know, that they can't feel and look as clean as they want to, it throws their game. Like, that's how obsessed they are. And I get that. Like, I understand that. You want to be your best. You look good, feel good, act good, right? Anyway, she goes in there and she nails the LA audition. Jennifer Lawrence. None of this has anything to do with the anime. I'm just saying. So she, because of that, 9,900 out of 1,000 or whatever, 999 other actors would have not done that. And we have never heard of them because they didn't do it. Other people failed in New York that day. They didn't jump a plane to LA to go try again the next day thinking, I can do better. And she did better. She impressed them, she got the job, and now world famous A-list actor. So her and Lady Gaga, I will always appreciate because of they were grinding, man. They were living, Lady Gaga living in the alley, eating trash out of the dumpster, trying to make her dream come true. Man, I always respect, even Madonna back in the day, man. She was living in the floor of a van for a while in New York City. Boy, that is a rough life, man. So I respect the people that just go the extra mile. So, not really talking shit about her. I'm just saying, Buggy is Angelina Jolie. Do one good thing, and you, man, people will love you forever, and you know how to play the game, and, you know, she's an okay actress. She had one massive performance. She was hungry. She was driven. She was committed. Probably tapped into personal shit. I think it was Girl Interrupted, wasn't it? Was her breakout role? Probably tapped into some shit from her past or her family or from herself. And ever since then, she's been given okay performances, and she has a good look. And knew the right people. Probably had a great manager. Skyrocket $3 billion berry bounty. Meanwhile, Luffy is Jennifer Lawrence. He will fly across the country, not shower. I doubt he ever does anyway. And come in there and nail it even after he failed it. Like, he gets his ass kicked in this fight. Tomorrow, he's back. I'm going to try again. And this time he wins. Luffy is Jennifer Lawrence. He earned his ass up there. And Buggy, you know. So I think one of the things One Piece is doing is commenting on celebrity culture and how we do this shit. So, all that being said, Buggy is the epitome of this. He is the engine that drives that commentary. He is. There's other characters that do some of that. Barrier guy, probably Wapo, pretty minor dude is gonna be now. He's gonna be lifted up. All the shit going on with him, you know. And then we're also doing the good people that get bad names. King Cobra. You know, his name's gonna be dragged in the mud, and even, you know, we've got pirates out here, like the Arlong pirates and Gecko, whatever his name is, and some of these pirates are doing some heinous shit to people, man. Like, they were terrorizing villages, they're killing people, they're stealing money and food, and these people are starving, and, you know, kids are losing parents to these pirates. Horrible shit. And they don't have bounties as high as Luffy and them. Luffy and them never harmed. Now, they will trash a city. They will demolish an entire goddamn island. And we know people died. We don't see it. So I can't say they don't ever hurt anybody. Man, we know people are dying, man. They were demolishing entire buildings, man. The city blocks getting wiped out. Because Luffy's bouncing around fourth gear. Brung, brung, brung. Just trashed a diner, man. That dude been working in that diner. He started as a busboy 35 years ago. on a ship somewhere. Finally earned up enough money to stop at this little city in this island. Open up his own diner. Put his blood, sweat, and tears. Wife left him. Dog hates him. Kids don't ever talk to him because he never has time for anything but this diner because this diner is his love. Loopy come bouncing, brong, brong, brong. Completely destroy this damn diner. This dude has put 35 years of his life, heart, and soul in that diner. It is demolished. So, yeah, the Straw Hats, not the greatest people in the world. But they're not doing this shit that some of these other pirates are doing. They don't deserve the bounty. That's what I'm saying. The whole bounty system is idiotic, man. It's all a weapon that the government is using, right? They don't give a shit about the people doing the actual damage out here on the streets. Straw Hats are destroying streets. You know what I mean. Terrorizing people, killing families, and stealing money and food from kids. They ain't doing that. They're not stealing money and food from kids. They will actually give red bean soup to a kid, right? So, the whole thing it's a commentary on how we in this world do this, and especially in Japan. It's probably way worse in Japan than it is here in the United States. K-pop, and I've seen a couple movies that imply this. These young women, they want the model to singer to actress career trajectory. Like, that seems to be a funnel, right? That seems to be a plausible career trajectory you can do. You can't do that in the United States. You got to pick a lane. But they seem to go model first, then singer, and heavily produce, and they never write their own song. They just go out there and sing this shit. They got a well-trained voice. La, 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 la. Dance your ass, shake your ass out there, dance on the stage for a couple years with some other hot girls. You all look young, and you look like anime characters. And then you transition from that, and you become an actress and do the shitty movies and TV shows over there, right? So they become these massive stars. And so he's probably coming more on that than anything else. Because their talent level is probably down to here, and their fame is way up here. And so he has a lot to say about that shit. I think he's talking more about that than he is the rest of the world. But it applies everywhere, right? So Buggy is really the central focus of all that. You can't do any of that commentary without Buggy. He's the leader of that. So he serves a massive function in the story. He's great to hate. He's just a memorable character. He has a great look. His power is interesting. It's not great. It's not a wonderful power. Nobody wants the damn power, but it's interesting. And he's always finding himself in hilarious situations. His current situation is fantastic. I love it so much. And, he's used generally a coward, but every now and then he will show up. I talked about this in a comment very recently, just today, I think. Every now and then he will show you a little bit of courage, which is what differentiates him from the rest of the cowards out there, right? He will actually stand up to people every now and then. Even the fact he's telling them to kill him, right? That's kind of standing up to him in a way. So, Buggy, for me, is the best comedy, really, because he really started out now, it was probably never intended for him just to be comic relief. Or he could have organically evolved that way. I'm not sure what the writing process was. But he is the comedy relief character I think is most central to the plot of any anime I've ever seen. And he's funny, memorable, interesting power, and has a lot to... His situation has a lot of commentary. So there's a lot of metatextual commentary going on, and the whole package, everything is just absolutely perfect. So I hate the son of a bitch, but I got to keep it 100, man. He's the best comedy relief character. Name me another one that fulfills all these things. Funny, involved in the meta commentary. The plot really can't happen without him. And his shit goes all the way back to the One Piece with Shanks and Gold Roger, man. All the way back there. Shanks is the most interesting character that we don't know anything about, for the most part, in the entire story. And they used to be buddies, man. They birthed, I think they call it birth, right? They birthed together on the ship. They were in the same room. Bunk beds or whatever. They were buddies. Had a falling out because Shanks didn't want to go after the One Piece. Buggy ain't done it either in all this time. But so it's really interesting that this is the conclusion I've come to. I tried to think of somebody better than him. I can't think of him. Honorable mention, you had Sasha, I think that was her name, in Attack on Titan. That was a pretty grim show. You had to really look for the comedy. She provided most of it. For as long as she lasted. And you have, let me see, I think I am, by the way, going to be getting back to Bleach and JoJo this week. It's been every single weekend I've had to do the driving thing, man. It wipes me out. The entire day gone, and then the hangover on I'm gone all day Saturday. The hangover on Sunday is heinous. So basically, I lose 2 days out of the week. And meanwhile, I'm just trying to keep my head above the water on all the shit that I do for Patreon, right? So it's been rough. But Bleach, probably, I would think, the stuffed animals, they've kind of rotated their cast. They had the one stuffed animal, now they've got 3 more. Those are all usually kind of funny. I don't think they have any legitimate, just straight up every episode comedy relief characters. JoJo is just so over the top. Everybody's comedy. The whole thing is over. The whole thing is, comedy relief. I haven't talked about JoJo, but it's obviously very funny. And as far as like the comedy shows, the whole thing is set up as a comedy. So the comedy relief for me is it's not a comedy, but you have that comedic character for the comedy relief. That's the function they serve. That's comedy relief character. Didn't really have one in Monster. Fullmetal Alchemist. Think the 2 protagonists pretty much filled that role themselves into the protagonists. Like they had a lot of the comedy in the show came from them. He had his things. Don't call me short. Don't make fun of my age or whatever. And then there's a whole crap happening with him and his pseudo girlfriend. That whole thing, the belligerence and all that stuff is pretty funny. I don't know. I think Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't really have comedic, like an actual legit that this is my role comedy relief character. I don't know. But leave it in the comments if you can think of any comedy relief characters that fit any of these 3 categories. The worst, the mediocre, and the best. If you can name 3 that don't match mine, that'd be very interesting, and I'd love to have that conversation. But yeah, this is over an hour just on the main topic. Now I gotta go back and do all the feedback and shit. But like I said, I had a lot to say about this. I was excited to do it, and I didn't want to forget my rant about Diaper Boy. I kind of composed it in my head, but you know how that goes. So I didn't want to take too long on that. So I did that first. All right. Well, what's coming up next is whatever the hell. Here it is. Helpful to look at my notes. What's coming up next is I'm going to talk about other animation. So, all right, now that we've done all that, for me, it's only been about 10 seconds. For you, it's been probably over an hour, I would think. We already had our F-bomb in the middle of all that. God knows how long all that took. But now we can talk about other animations. Other animations, for this time, is Batman, the animated series. I've been doing that for a while. And it's really good. It's old. It's old-fashioned. I mean, this shit was produced in 1992, man. Like, we're talking 33 years ago. I think it's been 30 years since there's been any new episodes. I've Googled a few things, I think actors that were involved in the show. So now I'm getting alerts. And somebody alerted that it's the 30th anniversary of this show going off the air. And how people still love it and all that stuff. That's great. It makes a lot of sense. It's the beginning of the franchise. It's the cinematic universe, I guess we would say. But it was this series, I think, only lasted the 3 seasons, right? And ended, I guess, 30 years ago. Anyway, point is, these particular episodes stood out more, and really it's supposed to be one episode, or sometimes a franchise, because I talked about Castlevania here in the spot last time. But in this particular case, we're talking about 1718, which is a 2-parter, which talked about Two-Face. It's the best depiction I've ever seen of multiple personality disorder. And as most people know, my wife had multiple personality disorder. She still does. And having been intimately familiar with the disorder, commonly called DID these days, I've never seen a depiction in the media be accurate. And I don't think an accurate depiction would be that interesting, because this is a memory disorder. It's not a personality disorder. I know it's multiple personality disorder, but the disorder really is your memory is being screwed with. There's parts of you that are holding your memories back from other parts of you. That's really what this is. This isn't about putting on new clothes and being a new person. It's not what it is. It's more about your core personality can't remember shit that happens to them during the day if it's bad. And you can't really function in society in that way, right? So it makes it hard to function in society. But none of that is like what we ever see depicted in the media. And that part really wasn't depicted here either. We don't see him with like, he seems, the weird thing about this, I didn't think about this when I did the reactions to it, but I think about it now. He seemed to remember everything. I should have brought that up. I should have like subtracted some points because, like I said, it's the best depiction I've ever seen. They didn't make any egregious mistakes or break any rules. Like, there's a lot of shit they didn't say, but nothing they showed on screen contradicted what the rules would be and what the reality would be. Like, for instance, you have to be heavily abused before the age of 5 to get multiple personalities. They didn't say he was heavily abused before the age of 5, but they also didn't say he wasn't. They said he had this even as a kid, right? So he was an older kid. He was like, bullies and stuff. But what was said on screen did not contradict that he probably got it when he was 5, earlier 5. He would have to if he had the condition. You see what I mean? Most shows or movies will have them be fine until they're 15 and they have a traumatic incident and all of a sudden they have personalities. That is just dead ass wrong. It's a huge red flag to anybody who's looking for any kind of accuracy. But, if it's just a movie, whatever, right? We're going to have fun and it doesn't have to be accurate. Like, there's other fields that aren't accurate. Apparently the generator scene in Silo wasn't accurate and people are really pissed. Anybody who knows anything about generators is really pissed off. I don't know anything about generators. I don't care. I had fun. It should be that way for multiple personalities. Just have fun. But, having said that, super accurate. One thing I will nitpick about right now, since I remembered it and realized it, was he shouldn't have remembered what the other personality was doing. Like, his core... Now, here's the thing. It only works one way, though. His core personality, Harvey Dent, wouldn't remember anything Two-Face does. We'll call him Two-Face. They had another word for it. Big Harv? Bad Harvey? Something like that. Bad Harvey. Harvey Dent would not remember anything Bad Harvey did, but Bad Harvey would remember everything Harvey Dent did. So it goes one way, right? So Bad Harvey remembers everything because he's there. The core personality isn't taking memories away from the alters. The alters are taking memories away from the core personality, right? So that's how it's one way. So it seems like Harvey would remember the things that he was doing when he was Bad Harvey. I think he did. I don't know if it was actually if that was clear on screen. That could be one thing you could ping him for. But anyway, if you ever, it was really good. Like the whole season has been really good because it's all the origin stories of all the villains, and a lot of these I've never seen before. I've never really seen the true origin story. Like the Penguin apparently can just talk to birds, and he's got flippers like a penguin. And I haven't really seen that in live action. I think the 89 version of Batman, that franchise, like the movie might have come out in 92 or something. I think it was the same year as the series. They kind of depicted him that way a little bit. I do remember there was a bunch of penguins in the episode, wasn't there, in the movie? It didn't seem like he was talking to them, though. It didn't seem like he had power over them. This dude had power over birds. This penguin. I've never seen this version of penguin. Also, he was an elitist scum. He was like an aristocratic elitist asshole, which I've never seen depicted. I've seen Gotham. And, the Penguin's very different there. And I've seen like I said, I don't remember the name of the actor who played Penguin. Famous guy. He's in Always Sunny in Philadelphia as well. Danny DeVito. Jesus. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Anyway, Danny's depiction was fine. Seems to be pretty comic accurate from what I've now seen. So it's kind of cool that in this series you're getting true origin stories. Comic accurate origin stories, which back in live action they weren't doing in any of the live action comic books, movies. They were doing it here in 92. It would be 2008 before we started getting comic accurate depictions once Iron Man came out. Studios weren't afraid to do a comic accurate depiction in live action. So this show was 16 years ahead of its time, essentially. Although cartoons probably always were. But this one really was. I just think that's cool. So I like it, and this was the best 2 episodes so far of the 18 episodes I've seen. So I just wanted to, again, like I was talking about before we talked about the main topic, which was a long time ago for you. We're not really trying to recap the episodes. We're really just trying to highlight and kind of like, hey, go check this out. Sometimes I'll do a deeper dive like I did with Castlevania. And I want to there's some other animated thing that's not anime that I want to talk about. I don't remember what the hell it is. That's why I write shit down. There's something else I want to talk about. I don't remember what it was. But we'll get there. All right, well, next we go to the hot take, and my hot take is for only the second time in podcast history I don't have a hot take this week, which is fortunate because we're running really long. But also, look, I'm not going to force a hot take. If I don't have one, I don't have one. And nothing's really pissed me off too much this week, this past couple weeks. But also, my hot take is I need to get back to watching Bleach and JoJo so I have more shit to be pissed off about that I can do hot takes about. So there we are. You know, that's my hot take. I don't have one, but we'll have. I'm sure I'll have one in 2 weeks. All right, now let's get to the rankings. Now, for Bleach and JoJo, they're at the bottom because I haven't watched any episodes recently. Also, Gate Zero and Seven Deadly Sins, I haven't watched those in the past 2 weeks either because I was so far ahead. I was focused on other things. I'm going to be watching some of those this week, both. And so I will, there'll be more to do there. So, Bleach, JoJo, Gate Zero are my bottom three simply because I've watched them. Fortress Macros, I'm liking it. I've watched another 4 episodes since the last time we talked, and it's interesting. Like, I thought they were going to break the status quo. They had a status quo where you had a battleship that goes into space, and there was like 6,000 civilians living on the ship, and they got back to Earth. So I thought they were going to leave the ship, and we weren't going to have the civilians on the ship anymore. You just destroyed the status quo, and we're only we're not even 18 episodes into the series, and you've already just shattered the status quo. That was very impressive. I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Remind me of ViFam, which did the same thing, but they found a very clever way to maintain the status quo, to keep those civilians on the ship. Basically been quarantined because they don't want anybody to know what happened. And so you can't have these 6,000 people out there mingling with the rest of the Earth's population. Keep them quarantined on the ship. So even though we're back on Earth, they have to stay on the ship. I love that so much. Maintain that status quo, because one of my favorite parts about the show is you got this battleship, but you have all these civilians. It reminds me a lot of Battlestar Galactica. And I wonder if Fortress Macros was inspired by Battlestar Galactica. There are a hell of a lot of parallels. Like, you've got the historical ties between the enemy and the good guys. You have the ragtag fleet aspect of the thing. You have the military is just overwhelmed and they don't have any chance to win. But fortunately, the evil guys want something from the good guys. And so, there's a lot of similarities between this show and the original Battlestar Galactica, not the Ronald Moore Battlestar Galactica, the original. There's a lot of similarities. I wonder if this was inspired by that, actually. Next up, we've got Yu Yu. And what's interesting is I should have already watched another few episodes as I record this, but I'm doing the podcast instead of Yu Yu. So I guess get effed. Yu Yu. I was just, literally, I would be doing Yu Yu right now if I wasn't doing this podcast. So a week from now, I can do Yu Yu, since I only do the podcast every 2 weeks. But this week I can't. So I had to get this done. So that took priority. But I have watched a few episodes since the last podcast aired, and it's interesting. There was an interesting twist where it turns out that what we thought was happening wasn't what was happening, and in fact it was a huge mind screw. And I love that. I love the twist a lot. I love the person who's behind it. I love the execution of the twist. And this is the second major twist in the last 10 episodes. Another character was brought back to life we didn't think was going to be brought back to life. So this is the second major twist, which is interesting because I had this conversation about Naruto back in the day. Would spoilers actually ruin the experience of watching Naruto? I don't think so. I actually don't think so. The further I get back, and the more I reflect on Naruto as a whole, the more I think that a lot of the twists involved, okay, well, this is the real bad guy, but there's 3 other bad guys behind the real bad guy, the real bad guy. There were 3 other bad guys behind him, so how much does it even matter if this is a bad guy, right? This bad guy was like a childhood friend. Interesting twist, but I don't think that would have ruined the story for me. I don't think any of the villain reveals would have ruined the story for me. One thing there was a character death about 2/3 of the way through the Naruto Shippuden. That would have run it. I would have been pissed if I had been spoiled on that. So I'm not saying it's 100%. I'm just saying the the reveals in Naruto that being spoiled would have ruined the experience for me were few and far between. We've already had 2 in Yu in 10 episodes. 2 major spoilers that I would have been pissed if I had been spoiled on. So that's pretty impressive, right? That's some, and I don't think those are the only 2 the series has had either. There's been a couple others, but those 2 for sure, man. Like that, this finally, I kind of had my suspicions. I didn't get to who was behind it or what was really going on. They stupidly did something to kind of tip their hand at the guys we thought were bad guys were not actually bad guys. They showed in the credits, they show them all standing together. Well, they wouldn't be doing that if they were evil. They never did that with any of the other people who were evil. So that kind of spoiled it. That kind of tipped me off right before the reveal. And so I was kind of like 75, 80% of the way to realizing that what was going on, but I didn't get that last 20%. So I'm just saying, in the last 10 episodes, they've already had more major plot twists that I would have been pissed to be spoiled about than in the entire history of Naruto that I remember. There could be a few other things. There were a few, Choji in the original half of the series, first half of the series, not dying would have pissed me off to find out. There's a few, but they had a total of like 800 episodes, and there was like 2 or 3 maybe. Here, we've had 2 in 10 episodes. So I'm just saying, like, the writing's on point, and they keep you on your toes, and you never really know what's going to happen next, and so that's why you use this far up. Next, 7 Deadly Sins, like I said, I haven't watched any of it recently, but it still is this high just because I like it so much, and I'm going to be watching a lot more soon. So it's funny. Because of everything that's been going on, like, I haven't seen, like, more than half of my list since in the 2 weeks. Like, I haven't seen any of 7 Deadly Sins. I haven't seen any of Gay Zero, no JoJo, no Bleach. So maybe not quite half. But I need to pick up on that. I need to get back to watching all this shit, and I will. All right, next up is Phase Zero. Like I said, they're off the chain, man. That's number 3, by the way, or 4. Phase Zero is 4th, because Jesus Christ, man, they're just tip top of the pop storytelling, non-stop action. We're down to 4 people, 4 masters and 4 servants, and heads are gonna be rolling these next couple episodes. It's heavy on these streets, man. These people are getting messed up. Next up is One Piece. I'm on episode 1119. There's only 1136 ever made. So I'm down to set the last 17 episodes. Depressed, but it's really good storytelling. There's reveals almost every episode, or cool moments almost every episode. Shanks bodied an entire ship full of people by himself. He soloed them. God damn, he was terrorizing too, man. So got that going on. It's really slapping right now. So that's why I watched so many last week, because I was like, man, I can't stop. It's so good. I can't stop. Twist reveals, kills, people getting murked. So yeah, man, it's off the chain. Gintama is number 2. Still hilarious. I'm doing early access now. You can go and get that over on Patreon. Right now we're 3 ahead. It's Monday, so the 3 that I'm ahead will air next Saturday. But I'm doing 6 more tomorrow, so we'll be 9 ahead until the weekend. And then we'll be 6 ahead, and then next week I'll do another 6. I'll get further ahead. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But there's a shit ton of this. We talked about this last time. There was a shit ton of Gintama out there. Oh, we didn't talk about it here last time. We talked about it in the Gintama reactions. Apparently there's like a grand total of like 600, 700 episodes, and a movie's out the ass. So there's a lot of this. I'm going to be watching this for quite a while. So I'm excited about that. And Boruto's number 1, because they've had 2 excellent story arcs back to back. One, they went back in time, traveled back in time, and they actually interacted. I'm sure this is probably the only story arc you've heard of if you've never watched Boruto. Yeah, Boruto interacted with Naruto and Jaiyen, whatever, Pervy Sage, back in the day. They time traveled. Hung out with them. Great. It was great seeing all these characters again. It was great seeing Naruto and Pervy Sage again. And it was back when Naruto was really small. And just that was a lot of fun. I love time travel stories anyway. But then the subject matter was the original series. You got the nostalgia going on, so that was a great choice. And then they executed it really well. Other than Boruto being a complete moron and having no time security, just straight up using people's name, calling Naruto, who's like this big, Dad. You dumbass. Boy, he is dumb. I mean, kid's got the heart of gold. He's got a heart of gold. He's a really good fighter. He doesn't have the power of his dad, but he's got the willpower. Boy, is he dumb. He's one dumb son of a bitch. I'm just telling you, man. Jesus. Sorry, Hinata. You know what I mean. But yeah, and in this next storyline that they're doing right now, it's been really good as well. So, gotta say, man, like they are on top of their storytelling. It's always been good, but like their storytelling lately has been fantastic. Like they are on the top of their game. The character. It's like I said, we always start with the character, work our way out. So I don't put as much emphasis on plots as some writers do. Like you have to have your characters nailed, but they do have their characters nailed. So now that you have the characters nailed, you love them, you enjoy spending time with your characters. Now you're doing something with them, and by doing something, I mean some badass, excellent, exciting plot lines. So they are killing it, man. So they're on top for this week, anyway. All right, well, that's it. We've got the next podcast topic. Drop your ideas down below. I'm not going to really belabor that too much because you know the drill. And what's also interesting, just one final comment here talking about I told you I'm doing the Attack on Titan special podcast. What's going to be interesting about that is there's no predictions for when I'm going to drop my F-bomb in that particular podcast because you guys didn't know it was coming, and don't do it here either because it's a special thing. It's its own thing. It exists outside of time. So your predictions here should be for the podcast that comes in 2 weeks. Whatever the hell date that's going to be. I'm not sure because we're changing months. So whatever that date is, you can just, some people started saying podcast 9 for this one. You can just say podcast 10. You don't have to worry about the date if you don't want to. If you know the date, great, drop it in there. Otherwise, just say podcast 10 and put your number there. And that works just as well. But here's what's interesting about this. We're going to have a podcast where I drop an F-bomb at a specific time. But nobody's going to know when I actually activate that podcast on YouTube, right? And it's when it hits YouTube that really matters. Like, yeah, people on Patreon will find out early whether they win or not. But really, that doesn't go into effect until it hits YouTube. So, we're going to have a situation where the people on Patreon are going to know for a fact when the F-bomb drops. Like, say the F-bomb in Attack on Titan is going to be 1 hour and 3 minutes, right? Now, you don't know when the podcast is going to drop, but you know a specific time that the F-bomb will drop. You know the exact time when the F-bomb drops. So, now you only get one prediction per comment section. You can't be dropping 3 predictions in 3 different comments. You got to have one prediction, right? You only predict once. But what if in 2 weeks you think maybe I'm going to drop that Attack on Titan thing the next time? Next one will be podcast 10, and the one after that will be podcast 11. So say you're predicting 11. What if you think maybe I'll be too busy because I've been really busy. August can be another busy month. Maybe I'll use the backup podcast for podcast 11. So then you drop in the time you know is right. Say it's 1 minute, 1 hour and 3 minutes. You put in 1 hour, 2 minutes, 55 seconds. If I use the Attack on Titan that time, you would win. But if I don't, then you have a prediction that may or may not be correct, but then you don't have an automatic win, right? So what I'm saying here is, if you start seeing somebody drop the same time every week for like 4 straight weeks, 4 straight podcasts, you know they're trying to hit the guarantee. Because nobody knows, not even me, I don't know when I'm going to use the backup podcast. But at some point I will, and that has a guaranteed locked in F-bomb in it, right? So I just think I'm going to see if anybody does that. If anybody just starts doing it. But here's the thing, you can also, it's closest without going over. So if you say 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 50 seconds, somebody else can come in 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 55 seconds. Now you're screwed. They beat you. So you might have to say 1 hour, 2 minutes and 59 seconds so nobody jumps you. But if they jump you, then of course they're your enemy for life. You'll never forgive them. If they jump you. If they see your comment and intentionally increase it by 2 seconds to beat you, you'll never forgive them. Now you just made an enemy. So who would do that? It'd be interesting to see the comment sections of the next podcast after Attack on Titan has had their F-bomb locked in. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, you may see some shenanigans in these comment sections moving forward. Or maybe not. Maybe people don't want to waste their pick every time, right? So, there's also that, because who knows when I'll use it. All right, well, guess that's it. I will see you in 2 weeks. Maybe. Or maybe it'll be the Attack on Titan. Nobody knows.